Hello everybody, welcome into another show. It is the 31st of October. Happy Halloween everybody. Just starting up early as we always do. Waiting for the guys to roll in before we start the show proper. Hey to Lions Gangster, how you doing man? It is been an emotional day for Lions fans with a fan favourite coach going. So we're going to break that down alongside everything that happened yesterday. Hello to Grandizer. Top of the evening to you. If you're Irish, I can't get away with saying that myself, but I hope you're well. Hey Geordie, I'm sad to see him go as well. Hey Craig, thanks for joining us guys. Just waiting for the guys to roll in now to make a start. I'm hoping that we're going to have Steve on today. His internet's been giving him some problems historically the last couple of shows, but I think he's got it sorted out. But we are going to break down Aubrey being fired. I'm going to cover it a little bit more than we would do otherwise. Obviously, it's the main news of the day before we head on to the Lions Dolphins game. If you've got any comments or any questions or anything you want to get in the chat early doors, that'd be great to hear. If you've got any takeaways from the game or from Aubrey's firing, I'd love to hear those as well. Yeah, Geordie caught up to 1998. I mean, they are still in the 80s in Scotland in general, so, you know, they're getting there. 1 year at a time. I don't know if you all have kids who are going out trick-or-treating tonight, but if you've got any kids out there, are you going yourself and you're dressing up? Let us know what you're dressing up as. It'd be cool to hear. As you can see, I've come as the scariest thing known to man, which is a Detroit Lions fan. It was rough, wasn't it? At half time, I was delirious. I thought we were going all the way. What happened, boys and girls, and everything in between? It was rough. Tales of vampires, werewolves, siptids, monsters, witches, a loss of fear. Yeah, Grandizer, you're right. I was so happy at the half as well, Geordie. It was incredible, the turnaround. I mean, you can see the momentum change. Halloween mask. I'm wearing my mask, buddy. I'm scary enough. No one wants to meet this in a dark alley, I tell you that. Just want to make sure that everyone's got the links so they can join me when they're ready. I think they do. Oh, Drew. Don't even, man. I mean, I know that people wanted a change, and maybe this wasn't the change that they wanted, and that, you know, people really liked Aubrey, especially after Hard Knocks, but I secretly like the move. Do you agree with the move? Do you think it's gonna be progressive? I know people are baying for blood with Glenn, but I'm not convinced that Glenn is the problem. I don't know. It's really interesting, isn't it, as to whether it's a overall defensive scheme problem or whether it's an individual position group problem, or I'm not sure. Will we get rants today? I don't think you'll get a rant from me. I don't think so. I think that a lot of the guys today are going to be resigned rather than angry, but we'll see. I mean, you know Ryan. Ryan's always good for a rant. Geordie says, I don't know, I like the progress I saw with Akuda, Jerry, AJ, Will. They have all improved. Armani's the only one who's regressed. Is this a firing more of a, to appease the fans who want blood? I disagree. I'll come on to that in the main show, but I really don't think so. Hey! Fantastic. Thank you to Big Aries, who subscribes once again at Tier 1 on a 10-month streak. Fantastic stuff. Thank you, man. We really appreciate that. It makes all the difference in the world to us. Twitch baby's 1 month old. Well, hey. Congrats. It's a talent problem, says Danny. You'll never walk alone. Justice for the 96. It's a shame it's JFT 96, Danny, considering that we added one a few years back, but Hey, maybe we have some justice now, so maybe there we go. I don't know. Is it a talent problem, guys? Is it just a defensive talent problem? Is it scheme? I know that Pride of Detroit had an article come out today from Mike Payton saying, is it scheme? Is it personnel? Is it coaching? What do you think? Grandizer, I will start as soon as possible, but this show's meant to have another 3 people on it, and I gotta wait for my guys. I know that Ant might be a few minutes late, but I'm waiting for Steve and Ryan to kick this off, at the very least. Dan said the game plan was to be physical at the line, says Jordan, but I don't know if I saw that at all. Was he lying, or did Aubrey tell the DBs not to do that, so he got fired? Drew says it's the personnel. They have to improve the players. Grandizer said it's probably draft strategy. It's a big question, isn't it, as to whether Aubrey did deliver the news or not. One way or the other, someone has to be responsible for getting the players in the right place. Ultimately, that falls on the head coach, but that's overkill to sack the head coach for the DBs not being in the right place. Then it falls to the defensive coordinator, and, do you sack the defensive coordinator for the DBs not being in the right place? Well, I think that's slightly overkill as well. At the end of the day, it's up to the position coaches to have the positions in the right place. And if the players underperform for you, well, the buck still kind of stops with the positional coach. It's sad, especially because Aubrey was so well liked and a local lad, but it was his responsibility. You can't sack the players. Like, that actually comes with proper consideration, So there we go. Derek Bobarek says bye bye Aubrey, off with his head, but then follows up with, no, I feel bad for AP. And Big Aries says, leaning to personnel, cornerback hasn't been developed. Seems most draft recently have been moved to safety. Yeah, that hasn't helped them at all. Hello, Steve.
Hello, Matt. How are we doing?
Not too bad. It's working. It's
Can you
working.
hear, can you hear me okay?
All good. All good,
Cool.
buddy.
Thank fuck.
Yeah, coming actually through clearer than normal.
I, I I don't know. My internet's just got better in the last couple of days.
Mm. We're having a conversation at the moment about the Aubrey Pleasant news on YouTube and Twitch.
Hmm.
Obviously, we're going to discuss it on the show, and I kind of figure that it might take up a bigger, kind of wider part of the show rather than the game chat. But I don't know. What's your overall take?
I kind of feel pretty numb about it because, like, I don't know, it, like someone's lost their job. Is it the right person? I've no idea. Like, we don't know what's been happening behind the scenes, but um, like if you look at some of the things that happened on the field. Did I share that picture on the Twitter thread of a defensive back just lining up like 2 yards offside?
Yeah, it was Akuda, wasn't it?
Yeah, and it's like,
Amani.
should
Oh, sorry. Yeah, Marnie, my bad. Sorry, I meant
Not
that
bad
as
now.
well.
Jeff's in the good books.
Jeff's in the good books for sure.
I mean, if you would hope that that player feels really bad about what's happened to Aubrey Pleasant if it's that kind of stuff that's got him fired.
100%. I mean, it really comes down now to kind of, did he deliver the message? Did he say to the guys, you line up here, you do this, and they didn't do it? Or did he not deliver the message? And either way, the buck stops with him. Like, it doesn't really matter.
I mean, do you either cut a player or you fire a coach? And I guess it's cheaper to fire a coach.
Especially only a DB's coach who potentially isn't making a huge amount of money. Probably, in terms of the coaching staff that's head could be on the block, the guy who's potentially made least in his career as well, the job potentially matters to the most. It's really sad just for that regard. I know that Dan specifically talked about, he's got a family and he needs to put food on the table, which makes it even sadder when you put it in those terms.
But if you think he's got fired because it's cheaper to fire him than cut a player, then that makes me sad because probably, like, based on Amani's performances, Amani needs to go.
Yeah, he needs to go right now.
Yeah, he's a disaster.
Yeah, it has been a disaster. Ant will be on in 2, so I reckon. Shall we start and I'll go through the preamble and he can just join us in the middle? Has anyone?
Yeah, let's get the riffraff. Let's get the old news out of the way.
Yeah. Has everyone seen the episode title? Does anyone hate it?
What's the episode title?
It's called An Unpleasant Ending.
It's raw, but it speaks for itself.
It's one of my least worst ones, I think. Right. Let's do this. If actually I'll just have a look at the chat a minute. Grandize are talking about potential DT people we could have picked up, and the Lions should trade down. Maybe. He's also saying that it looks like Ryan wants to rant. I mean, when does Ryan not rant?
That's what Ryan McCluskey 2022 model does since he turned heel late in 2021.
I just don't have it in me right now. It's just they've taken all the rant out of me because I'm dead inside.
Oh
This
man.
week.
Yeah. Right, let's do this.
Recording in progress.
Welcome to another edition of the Roar of the Lions UK podcast, episode 153, An Unpleasant Ending. My name's Matthew Turner, alongside co-hosts Ryan and Steve, and soon to be joined by Ant. How are you doing, boys?
Like Ryan just said, I'm dead inside.
I'm just numb. Like say, I just don't know where we go from here. Like this is just all too a common occurrence now. So I've accepted it. I've accepted where we are and what we are and where we go from here right now. I know where we are right now and what we are.
Some breaking news from the chat from Flyod Condor and Craig Ferguson breaking it. In division trade, Roquan Smith is on the move. He has gone to the Baltimore Ravens.
Good. Get him out the
Good.
NFC North.
I mean, that's a blockbuster trade for Baltimore trying to stay relevant in that division.
Wait, you said in division?
No, I mean, as in he's gone from the Bears, not in division for us. No.
Oh, shit.
He's gone out of division for us. I just meant it affects us directly because he's not there.
You worried me then. I thought we'd got him. I was literally just going to punch the phone.
Well, you don't want him.
Oh, I do want him, but if we got it in Minnesota, I'd have punched the phone. Or Packers.
Oh dear. Yeah.
If you're asking how I'm feeling, I'm just look back to something I tweeted yesterday, which was the score, and I commented above it, a crushingly predictable capitulation. And I think that says it all.
That sounds like a Big Bang Theory title. It really does.
Crushingly predictable. I mean, like we could, at no point, like we could have been 24 points up, and I wouldn't have been, like I wouldn't have been kind of like content because it just felt so fucking fragile. It felt like a house of cards, and it felt like we had a defense that couldn't make a stop, and the only reason why we were getting them off the field was that the Dolphins were just warming up. Tua wasn't really on song, wasn't really hitting his guys. The routes weren't clean enough. And then it all gelled for Miami and we just got absolutely blown away.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely how it feels like. Apparently the compensation is a second and a fifth.
That's a steep. Well, I suppose his contract's not small, but it's not the worst compensation.
It has to
That's
come with a new deal. You can't really
I'm
do
gonna
that
say
without signing a new deal. So he will be the highest paid. He could be the highest paid non-quarterback in the league. I think he could get towards 30 mil.
Maybe Lamar Jackson will hit free agency and all those Lions Twitter fans will be happy. Let's give Lamar 300 million to come here.
Yeah, Ant has joined the chat, and Ant, breaking news. I don't know if you've just seen it, but Roquan Smith to the Ravens for a second and a fifth.
It's going to make it even worse when Chicago now knob us and their best player's gone.
And Chicago think that everything's going to change next year because, we've got lots of cap space. We've got picks. Well, I hate to tell you, but every free agent and their agent right now are going to be sizing you up for the biggest fleecings of all time. So That money's soon going to disappear, Bears fans. You just don't let your good players go.
Ant, how are you feeling? I'm dead inside, and Ryan's just numb.
Well, I don't know what it's like where you guys are at the minute, but it is absolutely leathering it down here. So I am soaked wet through. That is my like current feeling.
It's positively wet.
I'm wetter than a same old Lions fan today, and that is hard to do. That is very hard to do because I've seen the best of the overreactions of Lions Twitter today, amongst the usual suspects. Our franchise is crashing and burning. It's the end of times. The world's about to end. All that kind of stuff. I've enraged the Miami Dolphins community today as well with that post about the left tackle not being able to block properly, and they can't handle the truth, so they take it out on me. But screw you, Dolphins fans! Your left tackle can't. Your left tackle can't block. Apart from you, Grandizer, you're cool. You're fine. Just the rest of your comrades don't know what blocking is. So yeah, that's been my day. Twitter's been blowing up all day, and it still is, and I'm trying to deal with it. So I'm here in spirit. But I'm actually happy because Steve's here, so of course I'm going to be happy. So I ain't dead inside when Steve's around.
For any Lions fans overreacting today, or my message to them is, we haven't hit the rock bottom yet. There's still a long way down to go.
It's like the Simpsons meme, isn't it? When Homer's consoling Bart, he's like, "This is the worst day of my life," and Homer's like, "The worst day of your life yet."
So far, yeah.
So far. But
is the better meme not being Grandpa Simpson walking into the club? Like, here comes the season, and there goes the season.
All I'll say is the overreactions to this firing have been stupendous. I mean, literally.
What's your favourite overreaction so far, Ant?
I saw, oh God, what's his name? Is it Warite or whatever he is going? Oh, in a couple of years, Aubrey Pleasant's he's going to be a defensive coordinator. He's going to be a head coach. He's going to make us look like the absolute trash we are. And he calls himself a Lions fan. And he's like, are you kidding? Are you for real? It's just everyone's jumping on this like Aubrey Pleasant is the second coming of Jesus, and we've just let the Messiah go. And you can't even get Amani playing properly. You can't even get them communicating properly. You can't get anything going. That secondary has been abysmal. I don't know, he's had injuries and that, but what's Kelvin Shepherd had at linebacker? A fourth-round pick last year, a sixth-round pick this year, Alex Anzalone. He's made a competent unit out of those guys, so no excuses. None at all. These overreactions are incredible. We've only fired one coach so far under Campbell's tenure, which was Anthony Lynn, and we got a much better replacement than him. So I trust them to find the weak links and bring in someone better. I know that for damn well sure. They've no track record of failing when it comes to their firings. So these overreactions, man, they're killing me. It's just like, geez, Louise, we ain't dead. Well, he's not yet anyhow.
I will just do some of the preamble here because I haven't even got into that, and then we will get straight into Aubrey Pleasant. Please don't forget our Discord channel.
Oh wait, are we on the show now? Sorry, I should have saved that. I thought we were doing the preamble stuff.
No.
The show's not started.
No, we're very much. We are on.
Hi everyone.
Good.
Love you all.
Please don't forget our Discord channel. Links will be going in the live chats. We would love to have you in there. Obviously, it's been a hive of activity in the last couple of days, as it has been all season. We've got a couple more people come in the last couple of days. It's been really good. So please do join us in there. College Football Podcast will be coming on, I think, tomorrow. At least live it will be. Ryan, Ant, what are you going to be talking about? What happened this weekend?
Week 10 happened. There's been more head coach firings. The race for the playoffs is heating up. So, yeah, come join us. We're going to do a breakdown of the conferences and everything as well. Look at potential championship games, bowl games, all that sort of stuff. We're getting to the business end now. And the way the Lions season's going, we're kind of going to be needed at this point. So, yeah, come join. It'll be fun.
And the Michigan Derby game as well. So, yeah, going to fit that all in.
Rivalry, Matt. We can't use the term derby.
Derby game happened.
Derby.
Kentucky.
Sorry,
Derby.
Rebecca.
Yeah. Ugh.
I mean, it's only rivalry. One of them were relevant, weren't they?
It was like kind of Bristol City and Bristol Rovers this weekend. It was a non-competition.
Bristol City and Bristol Telephones? For anyone who doesn't know, including the guys in the chat, that's a Division 10 team. So,
I don't think anyone knows that anywhere ever.
no, they play right next to my house pretty much. So there we go. Anyway, please do like the
I
episode.
bet you get good reception.
Oh no.
I'm sorry. Did Ash just enter the chat?
Excellent stuff. I'm here for that crack. That's great. Yeah, please do like the episode and sub to the podcast and give us a rating if you can. Any rating will do. 5 stars would be great. But if you've got constructive comments, we always welcome those as well. Lions Nation Unite, please do go ahead and download that app, lionsnationunite.com. Herman Moore's pet project to bring the best content creators together from the Lions side. We're on there alongside Dose of Dion and Micro Mike and Lions on the Prowl. Best people there, and you need to go ahead and download that app and follow us while you're there. And we're a Twitch affiliate, much like Big Aries, who resubscribed for another month, a 10-month streak for him. Thank you for that. You have, if you have an Amazon Prime subscription, a free Twitch Prime sub. It takes some money from Amazon and puts it straight in our pocket. Much, much appreciated if you guys can do that, or to any of the guys that are on Twitch. I know that Pride of Detroit are on there. I know that Chris Buffett from Pride of Detroit is on there. Throw it someone's way because it takes it out of their pocket, and that's always good stuff. Right, let's crack on with the episode. We're going to go through some news, and that's going to focus on Aubrey Pleasant. Obviously, he was fired today before we go on to talk about the Miami-Detroit game yesterday. And with the news, we'll start with the kicker Michael Badgley has been signed to the active roster from the practice squad. Barry Sanders, it was revealed at halftime, is to get a statue at Ford Field. Let's just stop there and talk about the statue. I mean, greatly deserved for one of the best players of all time, never mind for the Lions, but in the entire league. But, I mean, in the UK, we have a bit of a tradition here to give statues to players who won titles. Does this feel deserved? It's a really weird question to ask about one of the most charismatic and lovely men out there for us, one of our best ambassadors, but he didn't win a title, did he?
Well, I mean, how's that fair to teams like Aston Villa who never win trophies? Can't they make statues of people? I mean, that's just not fair. It shouldn't be. Barry is one of the greatest players of all time. You should be able to commemorate that. There will never be another running back as good as him, and there never was a running back as good as him. So he absolutely should be immortalized by a statue. And how amazing that it's going to be in 2023, the first year that the Lions go to the playoffs and win a playoff game in some time. It's going to be, Big Barry watching over us is going to change our fortunes. The curse will be gone.
All right. There we go. Okay, let's talk about the elephant in the room then, Aubrey Pleasant. It's breaking news actually came out in the last couple of hours that defensive backs coach Aubrey Pleasant has been fired. He was reportedly directed pre-game to ensure that the cornerbacks played press man and be physical against the speedy receivers in Jalen Waddle and Hill. It did not transpire in game, which apparently was the final straw after a season's worth of consistently poor performance from that positional group. MCDC said that it was a performance-based business, but the AP put his heart and soul into the job. He said that Brian Duker will take over with Addison Lynch backing him up, so they're both taking on additional duties. Duker, I think, is the safeties coach, now promoted to interim DB coach. I'm presuming that Addison Lynch was the assistant DB coach or assistant safeties coach, not 100% which one it was, but there we go. He was asked about the decision, Dan, and he said it was considered through last night and into this morning and that he barely slept thinking about it. He looked crushed on a personal level throughout the presser, whether it was about AP or not. He looked like he'd been through the ringer on this one. Said that they could be better on defense generally, but at DB especially, the question kind of pointed at whether he's been fired to save Aaron Glenn's job or to shore up someone else's job. I'm sure the inference was Aaron Glenn at that point. On Twitter, after the news was revealed, cornerback Jerry Jacobs paid tribute to AP, saying that he changed the way that he looked at the game in so many ways. Helped me better my game, his game, for all that he... hang on a minute, I'll reread that. He helped me better my game, and for that I will always have respect and love for you, he said. So hopefully that kind of concisely looks at the issue in terms of the mechanics of it. First of all, what are your main takeaways, boys, from the firing itself? I know Ant had a bit of a word on that at the top, so maybe Steve or Ryan?
I'll go first. Like, if I was, if I ran a post office or ran a postal centre, and continuously my postmen, postwomen, I don't know what the term is these days, post workers weren't
Most
very good at their
people.
job. If they continually missed assignments, posted posts to wrong houses, got timings wrong, damaged parcels, and people started to complain and results fell and it's going to come back on look bad on me, isn't it? Like I say, ultimately how they conduct themselves out in the world and how they carry out their jobs, it's them, but it reflects poorly on me. So I would expect to discipline or potentially lose my job. And that goes in any asset or any walk of life, unfortunately. Like I said, he had what he had to work with. That's the first thing. Like I said, he had 40% of good DBs, a few inexperienced, a few injuries, and a few that are just poor and should not be starting in the NFL. But it is what it is. He had a room that he had to try work with and try get the best out. But continually, week after week, miscommunications when they went from man to zone, people not picking up, people dropping guys, and then how many times have we seen like tight ends and receivers with about 5 yard space in the end zone, totally free, walking for touchdowns, penalties galore, offset by yesterday, multiple offsides, illegal hands, contact, and eventually it just became too much. DC has just decided that he's got to make a change, that what he's trying to get across to him, to Aubrey, to the players, the link in the middle is somehow broken. This feels like it had been something lost in translation and that he had to find and change it, that someone that can communicate better with the players. So I'm sad. I feel like something had to give. Like I said, the dam was close to overflowing. Unfortunately, the first person to get rained on was Aubrey Pleasant. He could be a scapegoat. A lot of coaches are fired to be a scapegoat, but this won't be the last fire of the season. Of that, I am sure. But yeah, Aubrey will find work, no doubt whatsoever. And I'm sure he'll probably redeem himself. He could pick up somewhere where he's got a really talented crop, and then we can probably judge him fairly. But yeah, with what he had to work with, it was always going to be a losing battle. But he's been let down, unfortunately. And Dan, obviously, like I say, he's such an emotional guy. Sometimes emotion gets away his logic, but yeah, he couldn't really not show how much it hurt to fire a guy.
Steve?
So the problem with this is that if you're running this depot, this postal depot, this busy postal depot, and your post people are constantly losing parcels, breaking stuff, delivering parcels to the wrong door, then you fire the post person. Like, that's what you can do. The problem with the NFL is, that's not an option for the coaches because the players are collateral value. Like, they have a value. And the easiest thing to do is to fire the coach. It's not the coach that's lining up behind the line of scrimmage on the Dolphin side and looking down the line of scrimmage at the ball. And they clearly must, I think it was Amani Oari, the one that was highlighted. I mean, I don't know what he's paid yearly, but if you're paid that much and you can't even line up on the right side of the ball, if you're facing Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill and your job is to jam them at the line of scrimmage, and time again, you are letting them have a completely, free release, unbroken sprint down without any kind of like attempt to make physical contact. If you can't tackle, it's not the coaches. Aubrey Pleasant's not missing tackles. He's not lining up in the wrong spot. So I feel just a bit sick because it kind of feels like the players have got Pleasant sacked. And, there'll be very little accountability from the players. I've seen some of the players wishing the coach well, and I can't help but think they must feel guilty because they've probably got him sacked. And yeah, I get Ant's point that, like, yeah, Kelvin Shepherd has done more from probably less in terms of talent with the linebacker group. But if you've just got players that can't play and have got no focus and have got no discipline, and if you just look at how bad Amani's been this season, I don't know what Iffy has been doing this season. I don't even know what he does anymore. AJ Parker just constantly getting burned. I don't know whether that's all Aubrey Pleasant's fault. What else could Aubrey Pleasant do? Could he have petitioned and campaigned to get more defensive backs from free agency? I don't know. Or was that Aaron Glenn's job? But I don't feel good about this, and I don't feel good about this team. So that's kind of my take on it.
And do you want to flesh out your take a little bit more?
Well, at the end of the day, he didn't do the basics right. How many times have we had communication issues in the secondary? How many times have we had poor tackling in the secondary? That's not talent related. That's just basic fundamental coaching.
How do you know that the preparation for the game? How do you know that the pre-game meetings were, the plan wasn't completely flawless, and but it was just.
But the players are not executing. The players are not executing. Player execution is on coaching, teaching them how to execute in those. Communication is not something that a player needs to be a 9 out of 10 player to know. A 1 out of 10 player can have the communication skills and the ability, and you just can't do it to the same degree as everyone else. But when they're not doing the basics right, that's a coaching issue. That's nothing to do with what is being given in terms of resources or anything like that. It's a case of, how many times have we seen it, Steve? Miscommunication, busted coverages, guys not doing their jobs properly. He's not doing what he's told in games apparently anymore. Those two receivers ripped us to shreds yesterday. And yes, they're really good receivers, but we didn't even look like we were coming close to getting them. Why were they in 10 yards of space all the time? Why are we not scheming to keep them cooped up a bit more? Because this Miami team have lost games this year to not so good teams with not so good secondaries. So they've done something to nullify this. And it's a case of he has not done his job properly. And I don't get anyone screaming scapegoat. It's your opinion, and you have that right to an opinion. But for me, it's wrong. Why is it wrong? Because what was the coaching change we made last year? We went after Anthony Lynn. They went straight for the head of the unit they thought was doing bad. Did they go after Antoine Randall for him not doing well with no receivers? Did they go after Juice Staley because none of our running backs couldn't run the ball? Did they go after Ben Johnson because TJ was having a slow start to the year? No, they went straight for the head because they knew that's where the problem was. The head of the head of the snake. We cut it off. Ben Johnson got the job. The offense has looked a lot better going forward. Isn't it
Aaron Glenn's job to make sure that Aubrey Pleasant's doing his job?
It is, but we don't know if Glenn's not going to get fired yet. This is just one move at this moment in time, and I don't expect this to be the end of it. But in terms of scapegoating, they didn't scapegoat anyone on the offense last year when it all went wrong, and they could have. They could have, covered for Anthony Lynn and said, it's tight ends coach not doing his job. He's the quarterback coach not doing his job. Why was Mark Brunell still here? Goff was playing bloody awful last year. There were no scapegoats then. It was straight for the head. They cut it off and it looks better. So if they've gone after Pleasant now, they obviously feel there's a reason why. This is not scapegoating to try and protect Aaron Glenn and his job. This is them admitting that, the secondary's been piss poor. And I'm sorry to say it, but this year you've got a quarterback who is a 3rd overall pick, so you'd expect him to be locked down. Obviously, he's had to work his way back, but the innate talent's there with him. So, I'm not going to celebrate him coaching up a 3rd overall pick. Amani has regressed severely. He is undisciplined. He looks uninterested. Why has he regressed so suddenly? Will Harris is still the same awful player he was 18 months ago. These players who are in our secondary have not been getting better. And I know we can point to Jerry and AJ Parker and that, and yeah, you know what? They're doing well. They are. But at the same time, they themselves work hard. They put in the effort and the commitment to see it through. The personalities almost get them through there. Aubrey Pleasant has not done his job right at the end of the day. And I'm not saying this is defending Glenn or anything. I'm just saying this is an issue that needed dealing with, and they have dealt with it. So let's see what they do next. like I said, I don't think this is the end of it. I think Tom Washer's on a hot seat. I think pretty much any guy who's coaching in this defense now is going to be on a hot seat. But something had to be done. And this secondary got ran ragged. It's been ran ragged for the last 18 months, and he's not been doing his job right. So I don't have any issues with this, really. I don't get why everyone's suddenly rushing to his defense. Oh my God, he's going to be a head coach. He's going to be a DC. Well, Aaron Glenn was 6 months ago, and look where he is now. What has he shown? What has he shown us that this is a big loss for us? That's the issue I have. The world is not falling in at this point.
Just
Sorry, go on, Matt.
just to elaborate on that point, a lot of people have said that this is a scapegoat thing that was kind of headed off by Dan, saying this wasn't to save anyone else's job, and so for me, you could see it in his face that he felt dreadful about doing it. And that to me tells me that it isn't scapegoating, but it's a popular theory. Ryan, Steve, do you believe this was done to save Aaron Glenn?
No, because he's still at risk. I agree about, like you say, if, like, say, we lose the next 4 games and we concede like an average of like 28 to 34 points, Aaron Glenn I'll give him his marching orders too. Like I say, I'll get Todd Wash to pack his bag for him. I'll give them all their P45. They can all piss off, like I said. And for me also, what letting Aubrey Pleasant go tells me as well that he wasn't having an impact as passing game coordinator. I'm not convinced that was even a real thing. If that was a real thing, that might have been worth giving him a new position and getting him off defense. But I think that also he had little impact on the passing game as well. Otherwise, because that wasn't even enough to save him. So we'll see if the offense looks any different either.
I'll tell you why it's a popular theory. It's popular theory amongst people who have lost faith in Dan Campbell. You portray this as a move where you are protecting his right-hand man. Glenn has been made out to be his right-hand man. So it fits their narrative for people who don't like him to go, oh, the ship is sinking. He's trying to get all these scapegoats out, trying to keep his men in position so he can keep control of the ship. Boulder Dash. We did it last year. There were no scapegoats when Anthony Lynn went. So why all of a sudden are there scapegoats now? It's just not happening. Any positional coach could have lost his job today, and we would not be really complaining about it. Maybe outside of Kelvin. I don't think Kelvin's done out to deserve that, but it's just fan flaming from people who want this franchise to go back into the abyss and have to start all over again. Come on, it's one positional coach. The world is not ending. Something needed to be changed, and they are doing something about it. And like Ryan says, if in a month we're still getting tanked every week, and this is still an issue of defense, Aaron Glenn will be gone. They will get rid of him. They've obviously felt at this point that it's still a salvageable thing, and bad franchises change their coaches all the time. They just fire them at the first sign of trouble. Sticking with these guys, seeing if they can come through for you in the long run is really where the effort pays off. And I don't want to be that franchise that just fires its coordinators and head coaches all the time and keeps trying to rebuild, because that's not how you win games. It's not how you become a winning franchise. And at the end of the day, the secondary is one of the worst areas of this defense. So that's where you start when your cuts come. They're just not doing its job right. Plain and simple.
We've replaced Pleasant with the safeties coach, Brian Duker. So
yeah.
How is that going to help the team?
Well, so let me jump in here and then maybe give some of my take as well on this. So I would say of the two DB groups, cornerback safeties, that the safeties have been performing much better than the cornerbacks have. So obviously Kirby had a rough start coming in, but he's very quickly become the best performing DB that we have, never mind safety. I think he's potentially outperforming Okuda at this point in terms of how well he's doing, thanks to Greg Reinhardt. But I mean, it's one way or the other, it's close in that regard. I'm just saying for him, he's been doing well. Deshaun Elliott, after a rough start and being benched, he's come back to perform pretty well. Juju Hughes, I thought, acquitted himself fairly well yesterday. I think in terms of the talent after Tracy went down, and what the safeties have done versus corners, where I know Okuda has come into the season not having much game time and he's done okay, but they haven't been that injured this year, corners, and they've performed really badly. So obviously Jerry wasn't there for the majority so far, but barring that, they've had very little to shout about. Mike Hughes has been poor. AJ Parker is unplayable at this point. You can't play someone who's going to play as badly as he did yesterday, and we'll come on to yesterday's performance in a bit.
Yeah, Aubrey weren't that bad.
He was the worst player on the
terrible.
team. He was the worst player on that. He was worse than Amani.
Oh, hello. Yeah, we're going on the PFF grades. That's fine.
I'm not going on PFF grades. He was at fault for 2 touchdowns. Directly, he was the guy in coverage.
But just to put this in, all right. Well, back to the safety thing. What's Chuka had given to him? No safeties in the draft last year, and Kirby this year, who is a developmental talent. No starters drafted for him, and that unit has not been as bad as the corners. Kirby looks pretty decent to me. Juju got a sack yesterday, looked pretty decent. I mean, he literally has nothing to work with. His one guy he's had a safety has gone, is injured. He's been given Iffy, who's injured. I mean, what has he had to work with compared to what Pleasant has? He hasn't. So it's a bit harsh to go that Duke is just as bad, because the safeties have arguably been much better.
Let me just finish the kind of overall point I'm going to have on this, because I didn't really get in there yet. So this is obviously Dan Campbell's decision. Dan Campbell ultimately is responsible for everything. It could be his head that rolls here, but it clearly is overkill at this point to do that. The next head to roll could potentially be Aaron Glenn. Now, Dan Campbell has to decide whether it is ultimately Aaron Glenn's failing here. And I mean, ultimately it is, just like it's Dan Campbell's at the top of the tree. But is it overkill to remove Aaron Glenn for what's happened so far? What Dan Campbell has to decide in that decision is whether he believes in what Aaron Glenn is doing on the coaching field in terms of how the scheme is being prepared, how he is delegating his tasks, and how he is doing his man-to-man coaching, and how he is talking to his coaches overall. If Dan Campbell believes that Aaron Glenn is managing his coaching staff effectively, is delegating the duties well, is still doing good coach-to-player coaching, then the next head to roll is Aubrey Pleasant, if he believes that the DB room is the one that needs a change, which it's between defensive line for me and DBs. I think they're the two on the defense that are the most underperforming, so Wash or Pleasant might have been the guys here. Dan Campbell, I think, has decided that Aaron Glenn has discharged his duties not adequately, but less badly than Aubrey Pleasant has. Now, is it Aubrey Pleasant's fault, or do we go down one further branch? He must have seen something on the coaching field to say, I do not think that Pleasant is adequately distributing the information from the defensive coordinator to the players. It's all speculation at this point, but when you hear the reason why he was fired in terms of the players not executing the game plan on the day, I do think that falls to hit their position coach. So cornerbacks coach or DB coach, it's one of those two. That's how I see the progression down the tree. It's the only way I can see it working at this point, otherwise it's Glenn. So I think that he still believes in the Glenn project. And everything that you hear about him in press conferences or anything like that, I still have confidence that he can be a good defensive coordinator. He just must be being let down by his positional coaches, at least in part. Now, as the guys have said, I think Glenn is on the hot seat. I think his job is very much up for grabs at this point. But I think it can be saved and turned around. The DBs have been underperforming. So that's how I see it. All right. Should we move it on?
I mean,
yeah, no.
No, we don't need to talk about the game. Let's just keep this going.
Again, you just can't keep firing your coordinators all the time. See what happens now. But it's so. I get called overreactive all the time, but I mean, wait and see how it plays out first. You never know; it might change differently. I mean,
should we have fired Jim Bob Cooter?
Yes, because he was useless. I mean, we should have fired a lot of coaches probably a bit quicker than we did under the Patricia era and whatnot. Were they really coordinators? They was just, Patricia had his hand up their arse, so they were more puppets. So
lovely image.
Puppets and actual coordinators, two different things. But we had vets in here last year. Worley came in, Roby Coleman came in. None of them worked. Should be able to make something with guys like that. The Rams brought in a scrub who'd not played for 2 years and won a Super Bowl with him. I mean, it can be done. if you work hard enough and you're good enough at your job. So we don't have an excuse. I just don't get it.
I'm, I mean,
It's needed to be done.
the other thing I would say is that I think that Todd Wash needs to take some responsibility for Aubrey Pleasant getting fired. We know
I'd fire Wash now.
Yeah, I'm almost on that plane as well. At the end of the day, it's that argument that is the age-old thing. The linebackers basically get taken out of it at this point. If your defensive line gets pressure, it helps your DBs, and if your DBs cover well, it helps your defensive line get sacks. Neither are doing either. So at some level, both of them are failing each other, and Todd Wash does need to take some responsibility for this.
And Wash has serious assets in that line. Serious assets in that line. You know, he's got first round picks, second round picks, third round picks. You know, vets earning a lot of money. So he ain't doing his job right. But I mean, like yesterday, Tua was throwing in under 2 seconds all the time. There's only so much you can do when a quarterback's throwing it so quick. And again, I don't know why Pleasant ain't getting more aggressive, because if he's throwing in under 2 seconds, bring your guys up and press more. Like you said, that's the reason he got fired, not playing press man. You can't intercept a wide receiver when you're sat all the way back, you know, giving soft coverage and the quarterback's throwing in 2 seconds. You can't make plays then. You just go let them make plays on you. You know, and he should know that. He should know better. But they didn't.
Just on Armani, by the way, that one play where he's offsides, that ain't AP's fault, because when the ball is spotted at the quarter-yard line, if you are not on the line, if you're not on the goal line, you're offside.
Armani should be like fired today as well. He should be cut from his damn contract.
Yeah. I don't think it's reactionary to say that he should be cut. He is fundamentally worse than a replacement level player at the moment.
Yeah, so is Brockers. Brockers should be cut. You know, 2 healthy scratches. This is for our leader on the line. You know, what good's a leader when he's in his civvies on the side of the bloody pitch? No good for you. So, I mean, I asked this of Herm yesterday on LNU. It's like Brad Holmes needs to start wielding the hammer on some of these guys and sending a message to the locker room that this ain't acceptable, especially to the vets who are letting this team down badly. I would do it too. I would do my best to trade some of these guys, even if it's a 7th round conditional in 3 years. I'd be doing everything I could to get them out of my franchise, and if I couldn't, I'd cut them right now. Deal with the money now.
I'd take a 1997 Carol Vorderman home workout DVD for Armani. That is literally what he's worth right now. He's absolute trash. What a year difference a year makes. Literally next Sunday, I don't want to see Armani on the field. Just give me Will Harris. We are literally at the point now where Will Harris is a better
VHS or DVD?
I don't think DVDs were around in 1997, were they?
Yeah, they were, yeah.
Or were they?
I mean, is that Betamax, maybe?
I don't know what. I don't know if I know what that is.
It's very specific, isn't it? It's almost like he's watched those sort of videos and Carol Vorderman back in 1997. She's a bit funny.
I mean,
I can see it on the shelf behind him.
Now. She definitely had one.
Oh, yeah, there's 1997, 1998. He's got it by year.
Yeah. She's right next to Davina McCall.
Now that I approve of. And Melinda Messenger.
Banging. Right, let's move on to the game itself. Obviously, ended 31 Miami, 27 to Detroit. Detroit getting out to an early lead and holding that all the way to the half, 27-17, and proceeding to the second half without scoring a point. No points in the fourth quarter whatsoever. Tua with a quarterback rating of 92.8 and a career-high PFF grade, I think, of 96.8, one of the highest grades given to any player per PFF this season. He was 29 of 36 for 382 and 3 touchdowns. Miami also in the rushing game did come on strong late. They actually had really disappointing figures up until the fourth quarter, but they ended with 26 carries for 107 yards and a touchdown by the fullback Alex Ingold, which was especially gutting. In the receiving game, Miami were led by Tyreek Hill, 12 receptions on 14 targets for 188 yards, and Jalen Waddle, 8 for 9 for 106 and 2 touchdowns. Gesicki also in on the action with a touchdown too. For the Lions, Goff went 27 of 37 for 321 and a touchdown, quarterback rating of 62.9. In the rushing game, started strong early with Jamal Williams getting some good yardage, but finished with a pedestrian 82 yards on 19 carries and 2 touchdowns. Williams himself going 10 carries for 53 yards and 2 touchdowns at 5.3 a click, which is not too bad. In the receiving game, led by TJ Hawkinson, 3 for 4 for 80 yards. Khalif Raymond very closely behind, 3 for 4 for 76. And Amon-Ra St. Brown getting 7 from 10 for 69 yards. Swift did get in on the action with a touchdown. Lovely Texas route early, 5 for 5 for 27 for him. Rodriguez had a fumble recovery in the game, which was good stuff. In defensive backfield, defensive work, Javon Holland led the team for Miami in tackles, 12 total, 10 solo. And for Detroit, Armani led the team, 8 tackles, 6 of which solo. Malcolm Rodriguez, 7 tackles for him, a sack. And then Juju Hughes also had a sack in there as well. Tackles for a loss for both Will Harris and Derek Barnes. Let's move on to the game itself. And it started off with a short running play and a taunting play on Miami to start things off. An extra 15 yards for the Lions. An incredible through ball to Raymond for about 40 through the air, threading the needle. That was a spectacularly good pass from Goff. I don't think I've seen him have such a good pass in his Detroit career, actually. And then the Lions finish it off on the 4th play from the start of the game. A rushing touchdown for Jamal from 7 yards out through the middle. And a dominant start for Detroit, leading 7-0. An amazing sack then on the first defensive possession by Malcolm Rodriguez through the middle. It was a scheme blitz. He came through absolutely untouched through the A gap, which is incredible. Can't stop them, though, on 2nd and 18, 3rd and 14, and 4th and 4 eventually from the Detroit 44. But then Sanders on the next play after that conversion had a fumble forced by Kirby Joseph, recovered by Armani. And then the next possession, Detroit rolled down the field once again. A nice big game by Hawk, shedding the tackle from Javon Holland, the excellent safety. And then that Texas route I mentioned from DeAndre Swift from 3rd and 7 at the 7. And Detroit find themselves very, very quickly 14-0 up, boys. And I think, do you feel like you're in dreamland at any point? Me and Ant on stream were basically delirious. I know you guys are perhaps a bit more measured than we are, but how did you feel early doors going 40-0 up?
Same old story. I did not trust the Lions at one point. I was happy with the offense, like you say, and we definitely got some breaks. Like I say, the penalties. The Dolphins all game did everything they could to help the Lions. They gave us so many penalties, and they dug us out some serious holes, which I was very thankful for at the time. Like I say, that was one good play from Swift the entire game. He's just not right. Honestly, the fact he got more touches than Williams was a joke, because he just ain't it. Like you say, he looks like crap. You've got that one play, and they spent the entire rest of the game running away from defenders laterally because he was scared of getting tagged. He was not looking to make yards at all. He was running away from contact. So the first half, those first 2 drives, like I say, 14 up were great, but I knew it was never going to be enough. Hawk made that one big splash play that he always does, and then goes bye-bye, goes to sleep, as always. But yeah, Raymond came into his own. Like you say, he's finding space, was really good, was twitchy, was good, was getting in behind defense. Goff looked great as well. Like I said, the offensive line before the penalty started was holding up pretty well. The release was quick. So yeah, for 14-0 up, everything went right. Everything went really well. And like I said, there were some good players on defense. So it was the perfect start.
Steve, how are you feeling?
Just like Ryan, at no point did I ever trust this team. At no point did I ever feel secure. At no point did I ever think, yeah, you know, we can hold this. I just thought, I was just thinking all the time, when's the capitulation going to start? When's it all going to start like sliding away? I don't know how many snaps Craig Reynolds got, but I'm completely agree with Ryan. Like, I know they said they were easing DeAndre Swift back in. What's the point? Like, we need to use him. You know, he absolutely, you know, is the dynamo at the heart of our offense when we're playing well. So if he's clearly not fit or not ready to take full contact, like, he shouldn't have been on the pitch. Give it to Craig Reynolds. If you want like a change up from Jamal, I just didn't feel right. It as Ryan said, it just felt we were wasting plays with Swift. Like, sit him on the bench and, you know, put him on ice for another couple of weeks, because we're not challenging, so let's keep him healthy and play him when we can. Yeah, Goff was decent. Goff looked like much better. I thought the protection was overall better. But yeah, the defense was just so goddamn awful. And, you know, I just don't know what like they're doing with Hutchinson. It just doesn't feel like they're using him properly. I get Ant's point about the quick release, but it feels like Hutchinson's putting in so much effort for so little reward. And the defense just doesn't feel right. But, you know, we didn't miss as many tackles like in the linebacker core. I thought the run defense was kind of okay. Like, you know, most didn't really get away for any huge runs. But yeah, it was just intensely depressing.
I don't know. I really enjoyed the start of this game. I think the offense they couldn't deal with our tempo. We've been waiting for a long time for this offense to start playing up tempo. We did not let them settle. We made big plays. You know, we just first play, we air the thing out, 20 yards downfield. It wasn't like us. We sort of came out with real purpose. Miami had no idea what to do with us. Those first 3 drives, I don't think we had a third down in the game till the third drive. We just the third drive for us, just 1 third down. Running the ball well, getting the chains moving, putting ourselves in second and short, opening up the playbook. It's what I've been asking for a very long time. And this Miami defense had 0 answers for it. They weren't exactly pass rushing Goff. The secondary was, no good. And look at our receiver core compared to theirs. It's nowhere near as good when you take Amon-Ra out, and we were still slicing them to bits. So I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the tempo. I enjoyed the play selection, good mixture of run, of pass. We threw in some different looks. So on offense, I was absolutely damn delighted with this.
But the trouble is, Ant, is that when we do that, when we put together like a nice series of drives, inevitably the defense makes an adjustment. And what we always do is we fail to adjust to that adjustment. And that's exactly what happened. The minute they made the adjustment, that was it. We were done. We didn't score any more points. And that's what we've been doing consistently.
Oh, I agree 100%. I'm just talking. I'm not at that point yet. I'm talking about the first half. I'm enjoying the first half again because the first half was really good. But yeah, I'm going to talk about it later on. It was not acceptable what they did in the second. But just in terms of what we did in the first, it was great. I loved it. Came out high tempo, really put them on the back burner. Defense, we know what it is at this point. We knew what was going to happen. They've got speedy wide receivers. That's why Tua can throw at less than 2 seconds a clip every time, because his receivers are already halfway down the damn pitch. And that's what happened. But individually, I liked how, so this is the point we're at now. As a defensive unit, I've kind of lost all interest in grading them as a unit. I'm looking at the individuals now, and the young rookies, the young individuals standing up, making plays. Malcolm got himself his first sack in the NFL. Well done to you there, Malcolm. Kirby Joseph, 2nd week in a row, forcing a turnover. Hit that poor receiver like a damn freight train and just knock that thing out of there. Rodriguez comes, gets the fumble recovery. These are young guys fighting hard, trying to make plays in spite of having a terrible team around them. And I enjoy seeing that aspect. I'm enjoying seeing some of these rookies play because you can tell their heart's in it. It's just they're not getting backed up by the senior guys around them who should know better. But, in terms of the start of this game, we knew it was going to be a shootout. We knew what was coming, trading scores time after time after time. And that's what it is at this point. But no, I was happy in the first half. I was happy when the first half was done. I kind of knew we were going to get shredded on D, but the offense came back to life after 2 games of complete ineptitude, and that's what we needed. That's what we needed to see in this. So, at the start of the game, very happy.
Special teams as well. Special teams has finally come alive.
Yeah.
Field position was really good again, and we found our kicker. We have found a goddamn kicker.
Yeah,
badly like money. Yeah, absolutely. He did, though. He looks super reliable. I don't care if he can't kick from beyond 50, and I think he has had a beyond a 50-yarder for us anyway. So screw it.
Yeah, he's got a 52.
Yeah, so let's keep trusting him until we see otherwise. I mean, this could be an example of someone they didn't think was particularly great in training, or we'll give him a go, and then he's good on the field, versus the guys who've been good in training and crap on the field. So let's see what happens. But moving on in this game, so we start off 14-0 in favour of Detroit. The next Miami drive, another third and longer than 10 conversion, had Hill versus Amani Oruwariye and AJ Parker over the marker for about 20 yards. So the guys defending probably about 2 yards in front of the sticks, and Hill just burns right past them. And you couldn't pick the two worst guys in coverage for Detroit to pick on. So there you go. Going through that, they get on to 3rd and goal at the 10, so as far as you can get away without committing a penalty at this point. And an illegal contact penalty gives Miami a fresh set of downs from the 5. Next play, Waddle scores for 14-7. The next drive for Detroit, you have the Amon-Ra St. Brown catch, which was challenged unsuccessfully by Dan Campbell. I didn't really look to me like there was any chance of success with that one, but we can talk about that in a sec. Following that, really nice throw by Goff. If you remember, he actually took a snap, which was basically by his ankles, but managed to pick it up and get it out within about a second to Amon-Ra St. Brown to convert on 3rd and 4. And then a really great throw to Khalif Raymond to beat the coverage. And actually, although it was a good throw to get it to Raymond in the first place, if that's out in front of him, that's a touchdown. So in some ways, Goff actually could have and maybe should have done better. And Raymond made a really nice adjustment to come back towards the ball. He was at the 3 and managed to catch it at the 5. So nice adjustment by him. And Williams finishes it off with another kind of bulldozing run through the middle. There was an offside penalty. It was called on Miami. And that was 21-7 in favor of Detroit with another made PAT. But Miami hit straight back with another touchdown to Waddle. A lovely throw over Waddle's shoulder, beating AJ Parker in coverage, and I mean, he was really on a hiding to nothing there, I guess, going up against one of the fastest players in the league. That made it 21-14. The next drive for Detroit, Goff made one of the best plays I've seen him play, so I know I said that about Raymond on the first drive in that throw. But they tried a flea flicker, and the edge player has beaten Taylor Decker on the edge. The guy is completely untouched, and he's about a foot away from Goff when he receives the ball back on the flea flicker. And Goff, instead of trying to kind of wheel out as if he's on a play action, he just does this absolutely lovely pirouette spin to get out of the sack and then chucks the ball away. It was ballerina-esque from Jared Goff. And the drive's finished off there with a 42-yard field goal. It was 4th and 3. Several people calling for them to go for that 4th down, 4th and 3, about the 31-yard line. 42-yard field goal, 27-yard line. So I think it's close, and maybe we can discuss that in just a second. The Lions defense then can't convert on 3rd and more than 10 again. 3rd and 13 for Miami, Tua to Sherfield for 14 yards. Then can't get off the field on 3rd and 6 with a conversion to Waddle. Juju Hughes then gets a safety blitz sack, which was really, really good. Will Harris actually beat his man on the other side as well. It was going to be a sandwich, but a holding penalty against Will was declined. Otherwise, it would have been 2 players getting that sack. On the next play, another penalty on Miami. Ineligible man downfield and offensive pass interference, both declined, forcing 3rd and 15 after the sack. And a nice tackle forces a field goal for 24-17. Lions then go down and get a field goal at the end of the half for 27-17. Reynolds dropped a touchdown with 3 seconds on the clock to finish the half. That really could have changed things in this game, I feel. That, of course, I've just missed out the fact that on 4th and 2 in that drive, CJ Moore, the punt protector, took the fake punt for a rush of about 15 to convert. Gutsy call by Dan. We've come to expect this from him, but it actually did take me by surprise. I don't know if anyone else was not seeing that coming, but it was a nicely timed fake play. So 27-17 at the half. I've kind of gone through quite a lot of stuff there, but let's go to the Amon-Ra St. Brown catch challenge. Did you guys think that there was any chance of overturning that call? It was borderline, but yeah?
What's a catch in the NFL anymore? If you can't get the ball, take 2 strides, go to swap it in arms to make a football move, turn upfield and go to the sideline, and it gets punched out, what is the point anymore? What's the point in even trying? He makes every effort to secure the ball. looks to swap hands so it can't be punched out, even though it is, turn upfield and make the definition of a football player. And there were tons of people with blue ticks on Twitter that thought it had a chance. And I'm not mad at, like I said, no one was mad at the challenge. I was happy he went for it. He thought it was a catch. He went for his gut. He went for it. The timeout in the end, it became irrelevant, but I thought he had a chance. I thought that was the definition of what you're looking for when you're trying to secure a ball. And I was pretty much adamant that was a catch and fumble. So I felt very aggrieved by that decision. So that was annoying. So, yeah. But no, and the fourth down call, like you say, it's one of those where if we don't make it, everyone goes fucking ballistic. But we did, and it worked really well. But the fact he was going to punt anyway, I was fine. When you look at where we are on the field, I would not have gone for it. I would have not been trying to get that from where we were. So a fake was probably the lesser of the two evils. But yeah, 10 point into the half, I knew it wasn't going to be enough. Like I said, that Reynolds drop touchdown, you couldn't have put it any more on the money. It hits him in the hands, basically. And Reynolds doesn't look right. Since coming off that injury, he's just not there. He just don't seem at the races at all. And he's another one of the veteran guys right now that's just letting the team down. He has just not been at the races for weeks now. He just looks like he's lost concentration constantly. But yeah, it was a good half. A few dubious penalties, illegal contact. I noticed we didn't get a replay. We didn't get a number called out. The linebackers turned around and said, well, who's it on? Referees didn't tell us out, so that was fucking bullshit. So, yeah, but it was just BS. No one even saw it.
That illegal contact penalty was bogus, and that would have been a fourth down and a field goal, not a touchdown. That changes games. It's balls. Illegal contact, unless you can see someone cupping someone's arse cheek or kneeing them in the balls, that's illegal contact, not brushing past him. If this is illegal contact, I want it to be proper illegal contact, something that, you're not meant to do to another person.
I've got a vision for a new promotional thing that we should do, which is Ant demonstrating illegal contact, or saying, "Is this illegal contact?" And then it's just some
Ant cupping someone's balls. A little short where illegal contact, not illegal contact. I think we should, but generally, this illegal contact rule is balderdash. I'm not going to use the other one, but it is. I mean, what happened when you can't name the player? When you can't name what it was for, when you just call that. And of course they went and ran it in. We made a great red zone stop there as the defense. We'd have been saying, oh, how good was the bend not break on that first drive, because we did bend, but we didn't break. And at the end of the day, when you're losing by 4 points, that's a 4-point swing right there that they should have had 4 points less. And it was a bogus call and it should not have stood. So I will get pissed with the refs today. The refs were awful, and all Miami fans go, oh, well, you declined 8 of 10 penalties. Well, you shouldn't have such an indisciplined team then, should you? That's not our fault that your team is undisciplined, and it should have been disciplined a hell of a lot further. But that was a bogus call. I'm saying with Ryan, I'm fine with the challenge. Should have been a catch. If that's not a catch, then nothing's a catch. But, outside of that, the third down stuff's killing us. And that's why guys like Aubrey Pleasant are losing their job, because we can't defend third down and long. I have zero confidence when we're 3rd and 13, 3rd and 14. Unless if it's 3rd and 20 and above, I'm confident. I should not be unconfident about a third down until I get to 20 yards. I should be at 3rd and 6 and 3rd and 7 going, my team can go defend this. I'm 3rd and 20, but that's not acceptable.
Steve, maybe a comment from you. I know that you've been a little down about this game overall, but Jared Goff in this first half had that first pass to Raymond, which threaded the needle. He had the long pass to Raymond. He had the spin to get out of a sack. He took the low snap and managed to get that out to Amon-Ra St. Brown. All in all, for Jared Goff, this was one of his better halves of the season, no?
Yeah, and I think when Goff is slightly isolated from pressure, he's a great slinging QB. Like we've seen that this year. There's been certain games where he's just excelled, and I've got no worries about his arm. Like you can see, like he can deliver it on a dime from 30, 40 yards in the air if he needs to, and he has done. But that Goff, when receivers aren't getting open, and the pressure's on is another matter. So this was kind of classic sort of like downhill Goff. And like, again, people in the chat, the overreaction merchants straight away, draft a QB. Well, in terms of, yes, we might need to draft a QB, absolutely. But in terms of top 5 reasons why we lost this game, Jared Goff was not one of them.
All right, let's move this on then. Unless I have any takes from this. Actually, no, let's talk about the defense. I know that we've kind of alluded to it, but there were multiple occasions of more than 3rd and 10, and several occasions of more than 3rd and 3 where the boys just couldn't get off the field. And it seemed like it was a short drop back or a play action pass with Tua's like kind of just spinning on a dime and delivering a dart without thinking about it. Like, he wasn't hesitating with the ball. He knew exactly where he was going each time. It was like in the previous regime, or in fact in this regime it was said, where an offense has said, we know what the play calls are going to be because it's very, very predictable. And it looks like Miami have just gone in there saying, well, we know exactly where these guys are all going to drop to. So I know that if I call this play where I'm just going to have Tyreek running a 10-yard curl, I'm going to have that as soon as I've turned around. So I'm just going to deliver it straight away. And it looks like the Lions just never reacted to that play always being available. Now, they didn't always run that play, but it was 80% of the time, and it was always open. This is, I would suggest, more Aaron Glenn's purview than Aubrey Pleasant. This is a schematic problem, though.
This is what happens when you play loads of cover 2 and cover 3. And you sit like say our defensive backs, like say, are sat like 7 yards deep. You're giving like say a 6-7 yard cushion. They need like 4 yards. What are you going to do? You're going to run in a straight line. You're going to stop and you're going to say, I'm open. Throw me the ball. You don't have to do what fancy there, do you? Like say you just go a quick slant, or you just do a hitch, or you do a drag. You literally just run and stop at the line to gain, or just a bit after, because our defensive backs are so scared because they're all slow as shit that they cannot afford to get on their heels and turn down, that they cannot give up gaps, but they just give up dink and dunk. And that's all Tua had to do all day, wasn't it? Just find that soft zone, just find Tyreek Hill 7 yards downfield, just let him turn and sit there. He could have started a fire. He could have made s'mores. He had that much room around him. Like, there was no one going to come and put the fire out before he'd done it. Like I say, there was that much room there because the defense was playing zonal or soft or loads of cover 3, cover 2. Like, that has got to change. That is the one thing that needs fixing. We have got to mix up coverages because right now we are predictable. There are XFL, there are USFL teams right now that could convert 3rd and 10 against the Lions because you already know what you're coming up against. It's that worrying. It's just painful.
I mean, in fairness, I agree with everything Ryan said there, but I would just take Okuda out of that conversation. They targeted him once. They obviously knew that he was. They obviously knew that he's our one competent, DB at the minute. He's aggressive at the line of scrimmage. He's great in coverage, and fair play to them for recognizing that and just picking on everybody else. So, but yeah, I'd agree with what Ryan said. Apart from including Okuda in that. Just shows how far he's come that they're too scared to throw at him with 2 receiving threats like Waddle and Hill in the team, and they still wouldn't go anywhere near him. The sign of respect he's gaining in this league now.
Just want to thank Derek Bobarak on the Twitch chat. He's 100 bits just saying love this show. Appreciate you, man. That's much appreciated. Moving on to the second half. And I will say, by the way, the difference in the first and second halves. 5 possessions each in the first half, 3 in the second half. And this is where things really get painful for the Lions. First possession, kill themselves with penalties. False start on Sewell, holding on Sewell. False start on Decker leaves the Lions 1st and 30 in the opening drive on offense for the Lions. Tua with a wide open lane on 3rd and 6 for almost 20. Ant has rightly pointed out on social media through our Twitter channel that the run that Tua had actually was completely aided and abetted by an egregious holding penalty not being given on Teron Armstead. Then what did we have? So on this same drive, again 3rd and 3 in the red zone, and a touchdown to Mike Gesicki beating zone coverage quite easily. The Lions' defensive backs guarding air in zone coverage. Like, there's literally no one in their zones. And instead of trying to find work, they're just standing there. It's baffling to me. Next Lions possession, the 2nd of 3, false start Decker. Then Goff slides, late hit to the head or neck area, not called. Offsides then by Miami again, extending the drive for Detroit, but the drive is finished by a sack by Seiler on Goff, beating Decker on the left-hand side for that one. Miami take over, and a really good start to the drive for the Lions with a massive tackle for a loss on Tyreek Hill by Will Harris. And it's the one time I think I've actually complimented Will Harris, but that seemed like at the time that it could have been a momentum-changing play. The Lions then do tighten up a bit on defense once Miami have gone in front. So Miami go a little bit conservative in their play calling. The defense tightens up on our side as well, gives the offense several chances to go back in front but can't convert. The Lions then on their final possession on 3rd and 12, I think it is, Hockenson catches the ball quite a long way behind the sticks, about 6 yards behind the sticks, and then a really nice spinning move from Hockenson gets him down to 4th and 2. And then the really contentious play. Lions 4 wide on 4th and 2, needing to go for it. They've bled clock to this point. They have designed their drive to be the last drive in the game and to win it on this drive. And now we're down with 3 minutes to play. 4th and 2, if you'd gone quicker, maybe at this point you can punt, but because they've bled clock, they have to go for it, and they take a shot to the end zone. And to be fair to Goff, he puts it basically on the money. It is a catchable ball for Josh Reynolds, who again isn't able to make the catch. There's some interference by the DB on the coverage. They say it's a good non-call. I'm not convinced. I think it's a borderline play where I think either side feels bad if it's not given to them. I do think it could have been called really as defensive pass interference. Regardless, you will hear the detractors talk about the fact that even if we score there, it gives Miami a chance to progress down the field. I'm sure we'll talk about that in just a second. Miami then run out the clock for the win, finishing off with a 3rd and 8 and a play-action pass to Tyreek Hill, who was short of the line to gain but was given the first, and because it was within 2 minutes they couldn't challenge, but the booth did not review it. It was at least a half a yard shy, but they didn't call it back. I'm sure that they would have converted the 4th down anyway, so it didn't change anything, but just another example of a marginal call not looked at by the referees, which was really frustrating. In terms of other notes, I had that the Lions started 4 and 4 on 3rd down, which was really encouraging on offense. Well done to them, because that has been a point where we've really struggled. I also talked about Amani being offside again. That was really rough. Themes I had: Hutch being held to holy hell throughout the game. Officials not calling delay of game twice. It hit double zeros twice on the clock for a second and was not called. Now, I know that that isn't the official clock, but that's egregious. Tua having everyone open at all times. Swift, we've talked about that before, looking at best unfit and at worst unwilling. And I wanted just to ask you how the coaching was in this game as well. But let's go back to some of the Lions shooting themselves in the foot. When you've got 3 possessions in a half, and the first 2, you back yourself up through really bad penalties that just shouldn't be happening. How can you score points? You can't score points when you put yourself behind the sticks. This team's proven that it can't come back from this, boys.
1st and 30. There isn't a playbook in the world that has a play for 1st and 30, unless you're Miami Dolphins against the Detroit Lions. I'm pretty sure they could convert 1st and 30 if they wanted to, but no, we were not built for it. Like I say, Decker and Sewell, like the first 5-10 minutes of the second half, absolutely. Oh, like I said, they were just like, it was a home game. Like it was a silent stadium as well. Like you say, there wasn't even that much noise, but they were just so jittery. Like I say, Decker gets killed for the big sack, which ends the drive, but the back-to-back penalties and the frustration, you can feel tension building, and then that drive just a damp squib on it at that point. Like you say, we were never going to make 30 yards back, but Like I said, it was like remember the check down at Swift on like 2nd and 23 or something stupid, wasn't it? I was like, why? What is that about? Like a guy that is physically broken, that cannot run through the tackles, and you're asking him to make 23 yards or he got about 3 yards. And then like another check down to Hawk, who, to be fair, did his best. He was doing his best to extend the plays. He did really well to get us on that 4th and short. So that drive started terribly. We almost kind of like pulled out the bag in the end and converted, but it just fell short. And yeah, it came down to a handful of plays the second half. Like I say, penalties, like the 4th and 2, I didn't even like the lineup. Like, I did not like having like say just like it like almost went empty, and then he brought Swift into the side. I'd have just run it. I'd have literally just gone out with Jamal Williams, or just put. We didn't have Brock Wright, but like James Mitchell fullback. I would have just set up to get the run on 4th and 2. Now, a lot of people have said that they went through the progressions. Raymond wasn't open. Swift probably couldn't have got there, but he didn't do anything, did he? Swift wasn't actually doing a lot of anything. He didn't engage anyone. He wasn't covered, but he just wasn't in the play. And then the woulda, shoulda, coulda done a PI. Some people get them, some people don't. But yeah, Goff, he put it in an area where he can make an adjustment and try catch it. But yeah, he'd want that one back, but so would Reynolds. For me, Goff really could not have done anything more to win this game. Like I said, he literally did the best he could of what he had to work with for the majority. Like people just let him down in the end, and that was a shame because he had one of the better games as a Lion. But yeah, penalties, clock management, like I say, it was just we killed so much clock driving that clock. Like you say, you're putting yourself in a position where you don't get it, the game's over. I don't. I actually think if we score in that 4 and 2, I don't think the Dolphins go down and get the points. I think somehow miraculously we hold them out. So I can't even begin to bash them for some hypothetical blown lead again, even though we know we've seen it. But yeah, right now where I'm at with Detroit, this team has to go into the half at least 25 points up. That's the buffer I think we have to give our defense to even stand a chance of winning the game. 10 points is child's play. Taking candy from a baby, literally. So yeah, we started hard, we started quick, and then we just tired, and it just kind of just went downhill. We ran out of gas in the end. So yeah, another one we could have got back. Another 14-point lead blown like Minnesota. Yeah, so a lot of factors that led to losing this game, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, I think a couple of things. First of all, the 4th and 2, we've got 3 minutes left. Whatever the offensive playbook for that, throwing into the end zone has to be the absolute last option there. Like you don't need if there was 20 seconds on the clock, 20, 30, 40 seconds, then you could understand that play. But we're on their 35-yard line and there's 3 minutes left. We do not need to take the risk on that play. Like we have to scheme something better. We've got Jamal Williams, if he puts his head down, he can take a few people with him and get a couple of yards. I just do not believe that was the best play. And yeah, and then when you look at like the reasons why we lost this game, like we're going up against Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, absolutely, but we're letting like Mike Gesicki, Trent Sherfield, Braylon Sanders, like catch the ball at an average of 12 and a half yards. That's why we lost the game, because the coverage was just so weak and so sloppy. And as Ryan said, we need a huge cushion. And the reason we need the cushion is because we can't make in-game adjustments. Whatever they do, however they change it up at halftime, we always come out and we always suck because we just haven't got the intelligence to make those little adjustments, and we just always suffer. And this is I'm just super pissed after watching that. Super pissed.
Yeah, it's tale as old as time with us. We can't put it together for a full game. Whether the defense comes up, can't play a full game, offense comes up, can't play a full game. They sure as hell can't play together at the same time in tandem, because if they could, this would actually be a damn good football team, which would win a lot of games, because we've seen the defense can make plays when it wants to. We've seen the offense can slice through teams at will when it wants to, but when the clutch moments come, when the lights shine brightest, they just can't get over the line. And you know what? I used to get annoyed about it, but I think I'm at the point now where that's just where this team is. It does not have the established talent on the team to sort of take a team by the scruff of the neck and go, right, we're going to go on and win this. There's no leadership in there at all. No one who's setting the example, who's pulling the team forward. And that's a big problem because, I was talking to Herman more about this yesterday, and it's like, you can't just put leadership in a team. There are so many things that get involved. Your association with the city, the connect you feel with the team, the fans, that all filters into leadership. And at the minute, we're drafting young guys. They're not going to become leaders overnight. It takes time for that to happen. And we don't have veterans on the team who are very good in most scenarios. Jared Goff, and I'm not going to brag on him here. He had a good game, but he is also not Matthew Stafford, in that he's not a leader who a team will rally behind when the times get tough. How many times did Staff bring us from behind in games because he took this team by the scruff of his neck, led by example, took hits, made plays, did everything he needed to? If this team faltered, he'd be the guy who'd stand up and pull it through with him. We don't have anyone like that at this moment in time. When they feel pressure when they're behind to try and keep up, and inevitably they crumble. They feel pressure when they're ahead because they start thinking about how are they going to defend the lead, not how are we going to extend the lead and carry on just playing without that pressure. There comes a point in a game when it's like, oh God, we could actually win this. And that's when the problems come in. The false start penalties. I mean, I can forgive Sewell. Sewell's a second-year rookie, but Decker, again, false starts, gives up a sack. I mean, Christ on a bike, he's the second highest paid player on this team. And you expect your franchise left tackle to lead by example. You expect him to be one of those guys who drags you through. And at the minute, I listened to him after yesterday's game. He's like, oh, we've just got to turn up on Wednesday and hope we're better this week. And it's just like, I'm not hearing it in his voice. I'm not hearing the conviction, the courage, the leadership that I expect of guys like him. And that's what this team is. It is talented, but it's leaderless. And leaderless teams can't win games. And it's something we're going to have to address at some point. Our defensive leader is sat on the bench because he's getting healthy scratch, because he's not making plays. He's not leading by example. Anzalone is limited in what he can do on the pitch. On offense, like say, you don't have a quarterback who commands the offense, who really pushes it through. Your leaders on there are just not really existent. And that's where it all comes down to, lack of leadership to get the team through those rough patches, whether you're ahead or behind. When the waters start to rough, when the pressure comes up. And we just have to accept that's where we are as a team at this moment in time. So it's a shame. It's annoying. I'm fed up of the half a game performances. I'm fed up of the faux comebacks and that. But again, I think I'm just at peace with the fact now this team ain't ready. And I don't know how Brad Holmes fixes this. Because I say you can't just bring in vets because that's just failed for years now. But we can't wait 5 years for the first group of rookies from their first draft to start taking leadership positions on this team. So I don't really see an easy fix here. So yeah, that's where I'm at this moment in time. And the refs didn't help. I'm not going to blame the refs in this one. But, the first touchdown shouldn't have been had. That hold when Tua runs 25 odd yards. I mean, it's a big difference between getting a holding penalty and getting put back 10 yards and Tua rushing 25 yards. That's 35 yards difference on a pitch. That's a lot, nearly a third of it. So gives you a much better chance to defend at that point in time. And, Armstead was doing it all day long. You've seen pictures. He horse collars him with a fully extended arm. You can't miss it. You physically can't miss it. Not called. The hit on Goff. That was atrocious. I mean, that happens to poor old Patty Mahomes or Josh Allen, the poster boys of the league, or Aaron Rodgers. That flag is out before the guy's even hitting. That's how quick that call is made.
When you think about how quick the refs have been to throw flags for QB hits in the last 3 or 4 weeks, like That was a terrible call.
If we
Exactly.
hit
I mean,
two in
did
the
you
head,
see?
we're getting ejected.
I mean, did you see that one that got thrown in the Arizona game, right, down in college when Arizona got called for hitting the USC one? He literally just sort of pushes him out of bounds, like barely touches him, flags out, called, roughing the passer. And our guy gets hit. It's like shoulder first. He could have gone over him. He knew exactly what he was doing and hits him. And you don't get stuff like that. And again, I'm not going to blame it, but just those little decisions, they can affect the outcome of a game. Now, odds are we might not convert, when we get them third and long or whatever again, but it certainly doesn't help when these big decisions are going against you either. Sometimes you need the rub of the green. All we needed was that, unnecessary contact penalty in the first half. That just needs not to be called, and then this is an even game at the end of it. It's tight margins, and you can't help when the refs are screwing you.
We have a question from a viewer, and if anyone else has any questions they want to get in, then please do get them in, and at Rural the Lions UK, so it highlights it to me so I can see it. Comes in from our WhatsApp group, actually, from Mark Cunningham, who is an Everton fan, but we won't hold that against him. He says, we really mixed up the play calling in the first half, which is something I've been calling for a long time. Why do you think it went so conservative in the second? I will personally hit back about that because I think it was not conservative particularly, but just us shooting ourselves in the foot. If it's conservative, I don't think Goff takes that 4th and 2 shot. We were put behind the sticks, and Miami, I think, just defended it effectively, gave us nothing over the top, and with this wide receiver core being led by Khalif Raymond, who, with the greatest respect in the world to someone who just got us 70 yards on 4 catches and burned them a couple of times, he isn't the best receiver in the world. He got cut from the Titans. Have a look at the Titans wide receiver core right now and don't tell me that Raymond is going to be one of their better ones. Like, he got cut from that team because he wasn't good enough at the time. And he came here, he was going to be wide receiver 4 or 5. Like, asking this guy to beat prevent defense as a speedster is, you're on a right hide into nothing. When you put yourself a 1st and 30, or you have a false start on the second drive and you're 1st and 15. Well, I mean, we were aided very much by Miami being more undisciplined than we were, and we still couldn't get it done. But it's just rough. I don't think that the play calling went especially conservative. I don't know about you guys. I thought that Miami on offense changed a lot more than we did in the second half. I thought they went terribly conservative in the second half.
Oh yeah, they could have put a lot more points on us, I feel like.
Mm.
I feel like they took their foot off the gas, which could have backfired. If we'd have won that game and come out of like a game tie-in, score a game and score at the end, Dolphins fans would have been going absolutely batshit crazy. In the first half, I agree. The play calling ramped up because we saw their lack of indiscipline. Taking shots because we knew we could possibly draw pass interference. Going high tempo because they were lining up offside and illegal hands. So they played right into our hands and we were able to adjust to that. And then in the second half, when our discipline went to shit, the game plan kind of goes out the window. But all the plays you have for 1st and 10, if you want to take a shot downfield, half of them they'll just be like, no, park it because we've just got a false start, or we've just got a hold and we're back to like 1st and 20 or 1st and 15. Like it just fucks with your game plan, especially when all the rhythm's out. Like I said, the tempo's all gone. We've become predictable. So it was a very mixed bag. But yeah, in the first half, a lot of it just looked better because the Dolphins were worse and just as bad discipline.
For me, there's a very simple reason why it went conservative in the second half. Of course, we took Jamal Williams out of the game, and we put in a running back who didn't want to do the dirty work. We put ourselves into so many second and short situations in the first half. Like I say, we didn't get our first 3rd down in the game till on our 3rd drive. We had more than 2.5 full drives without getting to a 3rd down. Why didn't we get to a 3rd down? Because Jamal Williams was running the hell out of the ball. He was running at 6-7 yards a clip. And you open the playbook out then. When you get to second and short, you open up your playbook. You can take the big pass plays in there because defenses, they've got to stack up against the run when you're second and short. They've got to sell out against it. what are you going to do? Especially when you've got Swift and Williams in there, they've got to respect that. So your wide receivers get more space downfield, more chances to make plays. What did we do in the second half? Well, all the penalties put us behind the sticks for one, so it gave their defense room to breathe and be a bit more aggressive with us. But we took Swift out. We stopped running the ball well. We stopped getting in second and short. And when you're in third and long, your playbook is a lot thinner. You can't just air it out all the time long because an opposition team is expecting that. You ain't going to run it on 3rd and 8 or 3rd and 9 because the risk is too high of you not being able to convert. So of course you're going to throw it. So that's why it's one of the most baffling decisions ever. And to listen to Dan Campbell talking afterwards about, oh yeah, we knew he wasn't fit. He's not 100%. He's getting his way up. And then asked, is he going to be 100% this season? He's like, well, we don't know. We'll try and give him more plays every week. And it's like, screw that. Being 100% and he's not ready to carry a full workload on the day, then get him out the team. Get Craig Reynolds in there, elevate Jamar Jefferson, get two guys who are going to give you 100% on as many snaps as they can, rather than one guy who's half-arsing it because he's more worried about getting injured. And, I don't blame DeAndre for that. I don't blame him for second-guessing it when he's carrying so many injuries, not wanting to go into a big-ass scrum and get landed on top of and risk exacerbating those injuries. It's just a weird coaching decision, but that's why we went conservative. We stopped running the football. It's all interconnected together. Second and short.
Does anyone know how many snaps Craig Reynolds took?
I
Not
can
many.
find
About
out.
four.
It
About 4 on
was
offense.
6.
Exactly. So why is Craig Reynolds not? Because he runs better outside the tackles, which is they were stuff in the box against us. So why not have an outside the tackle runner who can get some jump plays and do that for you? And again, why is Jamar sat on his arse in the practice squad, fully healthy, ready to go when you've got an injured guy on the field? He did not look right. We all saw how he did not look right. He was sitting in the backfield, sort of running out towards the edge, waiting for a big ass gap that he could get through without contact to appear. And that just doesn't happen in the NFL. And it's not the DeAndre Swift we used to knowing and seeing. So why is he out there? Don't play him if he ain't fit. So
And just on that point as well, Stanley Berryhill was elevated to this game. I don't think he took an offensive snap, but I will just... No, he took 1 offensive snap, and he took 8 special team snaps. He was on the field for 9 plays. Why can't you have Jamar doing 9 plays? I know he's not a brilliant special teams player, but I'm sure he could have done what Stanley Berryhill did for 8 snaps. And then you've got a running back on there who can be more effective than Swift was in that game. And it's not Swift's fault, as Ant rightly says. It's not Swift's fault he's injured. But don't put him in then. We would have despaired if Swift hadn't gone in this game because he was full practice all week. But I'd rather he didn't go than he did what he did. And I know he scored the touchdown, the very first touch of the ball he had. That was a really good route. But running the ball, which is what he's there to do, he looked at 50%, if that. He was well off the pace.
And for that touchdown, he was in a mile of space and didn't get touched on his way in. So it's kind of goes back to the whole point of not wanting contact again.
Yeah.
So I don't know why it's not done, but again, that's a very simple reason why it went aggressive to conservative, was the run game just vanished.
Got a couple more questions that have come in, so I'm going to rattle through these. Luke G is in the chat. Luke G's field review. Go and listen to his stuff. He's going to go live later on today if you're watching live, so do go and check him out. When you look at the Lions' defensive talent, where do you think it should be in terms of ranking? If they are playing to their potential, where do you think they would be ranking?
15 to 20.
Ooh, I mean, if it's fully healthy, if we have every defender on the roster healthy, Romeo back, etc., it could be in the teens because that defensive line will protect that secondary a lot. We're missing so much on the defensive line right now.
17 to 22.
Yeah, I'm with Rye there. At this minute in time, that D-line, given how young the players are and how they're developing and the lack of major star talent, that would be their ceiling, I reckon.
I would go between 20 and 24. I'm slightly lower than the rest of you guys, just because I think a lot of the people who are injured or not playing to their potential are still kind of project-y kind of players. I think that it would be better than we are, but not a huge amount. But there we go.
If we have a top 20 defense this year, we're probably 5-3 right now.
Yeah.
Or
God, yeah.
That's 4-4. That's the worst thing about it.
Oh God, yeah.
And it's not far away from where we are. It's most of our problems on the defense are in situational plays because it's not like we're not getting to third and long plays. We very much are getting to third and long plays, but third down or fourth and short, we can't get them off the field. It's just crap.
Yeah, this isn't like the kind of Stafford 2017 season when we're always coming from 10 points behind. We've had loads of leads. We just can't hold on to them.
Moving on to Jamie Clark. These are all on YouTube. Jamie Clark asks, is there anything a franchise can do that's worse than going into a pivotal new season with a new quarterback but a head coach on the hot seat, a la Chicago Bears last year?
Brad Holmes makes the pick. That's what you do. Brad Holmes gets overall say of who the quarterback is, and Dan Campbell gets his suggestion. But at the end of the day, the the GM makes the call, because then it's more palatable going forward because it's going to be his guy. That's what you got to do there. Don't give Dan Campbell a say on it. If you are that way inclined to go, he's really on the hot seat.
I will say that I do not think it's wise to take a quarterback if you truly believe the head coach is on the hot seat. I think that a head coach is generally hired without regard for the quarterback that's currently on the roster, and then you get some sort of weird mismatch with Justin Fields along with Matt Eberflus. Like, that has been awkward for the first half of this season. Now, I think that Fields is actually coming out the other side of this looking quite good. I think he's had a good couple of games. I think that could work out. But it's clearly not been perfect, and they haven't done as well for him as they can. But it doesn't mean that it goes badly necessarily. You could get a head coach who really believes in the guy. At the end of the day, if Dan Campbell works out, you want to make the best picks you can to make him succeed. And if the quarterback is the play, you make the play. And if it doesn't work out, you continue making the best decision for your franchise at the time those decisions are made. I don't think it should have any bearing whatsoever, really.
No, so I tweeted yesterday, what would you rather have? A top 5 head coach or a top 5 QB in the league? If you can only have one, which one's more important?
Quarterback.
I'd say a quarterback can win in spite of a head coach, but a head coach can't win in spite of his quarterback. So I'd go quarterback.
I mean, we're in a position now where if Brad Holmes ain't sure, you could spend a full draft not on quarterback and carry on building your team. It's not like we're just a quarterback away and you've got to weigh the risks of putting your whole project on it. If he ain't sure now, then just don't go that way next year. Just keep Goff one more year and keep building your team and see what you've got that way. And if you don't, then 12 months we have the conversation.
Big Area says the idea of building a team up and then bringing in a young and rookie deal quarterback. Yes, yeah, vaguely speaking, I like the idea of building the team and then the quarterback. But at the end of the day, I think the quarterback timing is irrespective of the rest of the team because the quarterback isn't always there, as we saw last year, as we've seen the year before. Sometimes there ain't the quarterback to take even if you've built your team, and vice versa. Sometimes the quarterback's there when you're not ready for it. But a top 5 quarterback, if it can be there as a top 5 quarterback, and you know what, sometimes the timing sucks, but you've still got to make your pick. So it really depends how much of a swing for the fences it is or not, and you don't know that at the time. So it's a bloody crapshoot, and I defy anyone who wants to be a general manager to get that right with a batting 1,000, because that ain't happening.
I think it's more important that your GM knows how to build a roster. And, like you said, we've had Stafford for so many years and we could never build a roster around him because there was never anyone who was good at building a roster around him. So, you've got to have, do you believe that your GM can go out there and build a great roster, irrespective of where the quarterback's taken, like you say? And, the jury's out on Holmes yet as to whether he can build a competent roster. He still needs another couple of drafts yet until you can really say, has he done it? But, yeah, I think it doesn't really matter. I would prefer to take them at the end. You maximize your window on the rookie contract to be able to do so. You can spend more money elsewhere on your team. I mean, there's nothing worse kind of than getting your quarterback, been ready in 3 or 4 years. Like, right, we're ready to go. It's like, oh God, we've got to pay him. Well, I've got to start cutting players to be able to afford him. So I do personally prefer to do it at the end.
I've got 2 questions to finish off from Grandizer, and then we'll wrap at that point. So, first question from him. Is there any players that you can think of in free agency that can be a leader for the Lions? It didn't specify whether it was free agency at the end of the season or right now. I think the cap is restrictive right now. Is there any players in a fantasy world you would like to come in and fix the Lions? Because there is a vacuum of leadership here. Maybe let's not even make it realistic. Just who could fix us? Could anyone fix us? Someone like maybe Fred Warner? Someone in the middle of that defense who can affect the entire field, sideline to sideline, call out plays with the red dot. I think that someone like that could be transformative for this team.
Someone like Demario Davis.
What about one of those two guys that got those like 15 kids at the cave in Thailand? Maybe one of those two guys.
Or Elon Musk would certainly have something to say about it. I'm sure that Twitter would be open and available to everyone on that point. Yeah, all right, let's move on. Grandizer has his second question, which is, can you name your 3 positive and negative players from this game for the Lions? So he's forcing us into saying something nice about the team, boys. Let's just go round and quickly do this. So let's start with Ryan.
Positives: Kirby, Malcolm, and Goff, who had a trending up week. Down, Aquara, Brian, and Decker.
Steve?
I think Aquara was covering Tyreek Hill at one point.
Yeah.
He was. And people said it's zone. It wasn't. He was in man. He literally followed him on the play. And it was mind-boggling.
It's like it's kind of like watching the Speedy Gonzalez, isn't it, against the Cats? Just like, it's never going to catch him.
Remember we put Jared Davis on Ezekiel Elliott for one of those game-winning scores? It was like that. It was like men against boys.
Okay, positives: Kirby, Jeff Okuda, Michael Badgley. Negatives: I didn't think Sewell had a great game. I thought a lot of penalties again, and
yeah.
So negatives, I'd say Sewell, and our entire defensive line again, and I mean Amani. I mean it's just like I feel I'm just punching down, but Amani was fucking awful.
And
positives: Jamal Williams was positive. He was one of the few vets who came out and played like he cared, and he was a massive part of the offense in the first half. So well played, Jamal Williams. Malcolm Rodriguez just continues to get better week by week. Of course, I'm going to put him in there as well. And I mean, I put Amon-Ra in there. I thought Amon-Ra had a good game considering it was his first back from injury and concussion. Thought he played really well. Thought the offense just operates so much better when he's in there. So they're my 3 positive ones. The negative ones, I'm going straight in for Julian. It's time for him to leave. It's time for him to go. He offers nothing to this team no more and needs cutting right away. Isaiah Buggs was useless. He had his good start here, but he has become exactly what I thought he was going to be. Just a non-committal part of that interior defensive line. He's done for me. And Josh Reynolds has been a massive disappointment, touchdown before the half. That's 4 points. That's the 4 points we lost by that he dropped right then and there. Dropped another crucial one later on. Sorry, but we need guys who can make those plays. And if you can't make them, then bye-bye.
For my guys, I'm going to try and highlight some people who haven't really been mentioned so far, just to be a bit different. First guy positively, I think Evan Brown needs to be highlighted. The interior of the offensive line was solid all day. No issues there. And Brown is someone pre-game I called to be benched. I said he's not a guard and you can't trust him to be a guard. And he went out there and he had a pretty flawless game at right guard. So I don't remember him being an issue whatsoever, and that's the best thing I can say about him. The second guy is someone that I continually dog on this podcast, and I will do until he re-signs, is traded, or is cut. And that's TJ Hawkinson. He came in, he made one really big catch down the sideline in the first quarter for one of the touchdowns eventually. That was a really nice play. He burnt one of the premier safeties in the league, and at his height and weight, that's no mean feat. And then in the second half as well, he had a nice play down the sideline. He had the spinning move to try and get us to a manageable fourth down situation. I don't remember him being a liability blocking-wise in this game. He did everything that I wanted him to do in this game. Now, is he spectacularly good? No, he wasn't game-breaking, but this was definitely a better than average game for TJ Hockenson, putting himself in the shop window, as, of course, the trade deadline is tomorrow, so we'll see what happens there. The other guy I'm going to highlight positively, Alex Anzalone. I mean, the thing is, quite a lot of the tackles, because the defensive line wasn't making it, were actually being done by either him or Derek Barnes or other guys in the linebacker core, Malcolm. A lot of the tackling was being done by them and not at the defensive line level. He had one play I remember calling out with Ant, where the running back was trying to fall forward, and he was holding him up off the ground. Like, it was an incredible show of strength. I just thought he was all over the field, and while he's not gonna, blow anyone away, it's Anzalone. I just don't think he's capable of that. He was good. He was fine. And, I mean, he was a liability last year, so that is a really big difference. And I think, further to the point about the Coach Shep and the linebackers, he is proving that Shep is doing a good job this year, Anzalone. Arrow down. I dogged AJ Parker so much, but I kind of feel like if you're going to step on the field, you take what comes with it. And I know Tyreek Hill or Jalen Waddle is a hell of a matchup for a guy like AJ to have. It's almost unfair, but I still think you should be doing better than you are, mate. Like, I don't want you to be cut or anything like that. I'm not calling for it. Amani played almost as badly as you did, but Amani comes with the pedigree and comes with the trust. AJ is a UDFA, and he's a good depth player here, but we didn't put him in the best position, but he still played really, really badly. The other guys are going to be on offense. Josh Reynolds was awful, and like Ryan said, since the injury, he's not been the same guy. And Decker, I know that's been said already, but Decker was bad. The penalties were killing us, and he did it time and time again. It's not been the first time this year. He needs to sort himself out. So lots of positives in there, actually, individually, from all the guys, as well as some of the more obvious negatives. But there's a lot to be positive. I think Ant said it on our Twitter. There's a lot to be positive about on this game. It just doesn't bloody feel like it, because we're now 1-6 and the season is done, for all intents and purposes. And how can you be positive about that? But individually, there were good performances here.
I mean, the thing is,
we're a team of individuals, aren't we? We don't play as units, and that's just the thing that kills us.
See, the thing is, yes, there is a lot to be positive about, but in terms of the game, not in terms of the way this team's building, which is the concern, the big concern. This team ain't building in the right direction at the minute. We are down to pointing out individual performances again, and that is bad. That is really, really bad. So, yeah, I mean, it is what it is now. I've come to peace with what this team is, and it makes it easier. Like I say, let's focus on the positives now. And the year's gone. We've got some big games coming up. It's now 2 divisional games. We're fighting for pride, especially against the goddamn Bears, who are in full tank mode. And I mean, they're going to fully tank this year, and they're going to be ahead of us next year with all the draft capital and free agency money they're coming. That is just the sad way of things. But we've got to start fighting for pride at this point. The Packers are not special, and I know I said this season they were, but got to fight for pride there. That offense is bad. Aaron Rodgers and his receivers are not one and one with another. They're playing poorly. And that defense I don't really rate either. They've injuries at the linebacker court all over. So you've got to start fighting for pride now, start winning some games, and start showing there is something more to just individual accomplishment this season.
Steve?
I was gonna just ask, just to.
Oh, sorry, my bad. Hit the wrong thing. Sorry, Steve, you're muted. Sorry.
So I was just gonna ask, just to kind of like help wrap things up. We're 1-6 now. where do you think we are going to finish this season? Give me like an updated prediction about a season win-loss tracker.
Right. I can get this very well, but I know that Ryan's got the same record as me, or at least he did in the Discord. 3 wins, number 1 overall pick is the most likely scenario. We can get between 2 and 8 wins this season. That is where I think is possible. To get the 8 wins, we need to go on a run. But when you start winning, it becomes a habit. We start winning against the Packers this weekend, we could roll all the way to 8 wins. But the most likely thing is that we pull 2 wins out of our ass somewhere and we pick number 1 overall. That's my take.
Yeah, that our ceiling is we beat the Packers and the Bears at home, finish 3-14. That's the floor. The ceiling is 4 wins. We beat the Panthers as well as the Packers and the Bears at home. We still get the first overall pick. The only thing I care about now is the division. I do not care about any of the games. I only care about how we play against Minnesota, Chicago, and Green Bay. The first overall pick is looking a formality at this point. We're going to get it, and I've accepted it, and I already can't wait for it. Like I said, my mock generator is flying, but yeah, there's only a handful of games I care about now, and they're ones at home, because we have shown that on the road, I just don't know what happens. The wheels fall off when we leave Ford Field. We look like a different side. So yeah, 3 or 4 wins, that's it.
I don't know. I still think this team can win 5 or 6 games. It's going to require a win soon. I think the confidence is shot right now. You've seen what happens when this team is confident. It was against Washington. They was able to see the game out. There was enough confidence there. And the schedule, I saw the Giants yesterday. The Giants don't faze me. The Jags looked awful at Wembley. There are still a lot of bad teams on the schedule. So if you can get a run, get some momentum going, you can still win games. So I still want to win games. I couldn't care less about the first overall pick. I don't really want it. I'm not fussed about it. I want this team to win games because that's how it truly moves forward as a franchise. I'm sick of the losing seasons. I'm sick of the high picks. All it brings you is more pain going down the line. And, I couldn't care less about it. So I still think we're a 5 or 6 win team potentially. I will say 5-12. I think we could go right now.
Right. I think, Steve, do you want to follow up there or finish off that thought?
I'm kind of with Ryan. I mean, like the Bears seem to be going into full tank, and I think we should probably beat the Bears at home. So that's 2 wins. Who else? The Jags look bad. But so did the Seahawks. So did the Patriots. I don't know. I reckon maybe 3 or 4 wins maximum. I can see, like Ryan said, our ceiling probably 4 wins. The Bears, maybe the Jags, maybe the Panthers. I don't think we'll beat the Packers. But yeah, 8 wins is absolute fucking pipe dreams, and that's crack pipe dreams.
Right, does anyone have anything else they want to bring up? We're going to have a post-game chat after this if you are live with us on Twitch and YouTube. We are going to keep talking after we go off the air for the podcast. But anyone else want anything to bring up on the show? No, right.
No, in fact, I know we've done it today already, but big shout out to Tom and his birthday today. Hope he's had a really nice day. And as Steve said, hope he's rode the hot hand and had fun. So, we love you, Tom.
Hopefully Tom will be back on the podcast soon. Won't be here next week because he's in Edinburgh, Steve, I think. So maybe you'll go out drinking, celebrating his birthday. I don't know. Anyway, our next episode.
Very good.
Our next episode will be Thursday. It's the Packers preview show. I'm going to work on the GB and Irish Packers, see if we can get Steve Diddy on the show. Maybe Steve can do some work for me on that regard as well. Fingers crossed, because he's a right character. I give the over-under on words said by us on that podcast to be 10 if he's on, so we shall see. But join us for that. It's going to be a fun one. It's the Packers. It's not going to be boring. But our next show proper is going to be maybe Tuesday, actually. Tomorrow, the College Football Podcast is going to be back. What happened this weekend, boys?
A lot always happens.
You watch the games. You know what happened with Michigan State, and you know what happened with Alabama and whatever.
Michigan was a one-sided game. Tennessee,
Georgia
and
were
yeah,
Georgia were pants.
every team in the top four, not named Tennessee, had a rough weekend, even though they all won. Tennessee are the best team in the country at the minute, and Hendon Hooker is Heisman material, or he should be at least. So, yeah, we'll have that argument and a lot more about it because we'll be looking at it's coming into Heisman season now, so we'll start looking at some of the Heisman guys.
And don't
I,
forget,
I was I was watching a bit of college football and I saw a guy who really impressed me. I'm sure he's on your radar. He's a running back called Keaton Mitchell.
ECU, East Carolina Pirates.
Yeah,
Yes.
he looked tasty.
They had a big win.
It's a good year for running backs. I mean, Charbonnet had 200 yards this weekend. I mean, there's just so many good ones out there. That's definitely going to be a point of emphasis come draft season, because we need a running back next year.
And the guys, of course, are going to be previewing this coming weekend's games as well, including a monster matchup between number 1 ranked Georgia and number 3 ranked Tennessee. 2 ranked Tennessee, is it?
I think they're 2 now.
Oh, bloomin' heck. So the top 2 going at it. Opening line for that, I think, is 12.5 points in favour of Georgia. So
Georgia.
yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. So you want to catch the boys tomorrow for that show. Otherwise, please don't forget to follow us on our socials, Roar the Lions UK on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And the group on Facebook for Worldwide Fans is Detroit Lions Fans UK One Pride Worldwide. Lots of good stuff there from our boys over in the UK going over to the States, our own Ryan Farden, as well as a load of guys from the US posting all the good stuff from the tailgates and what have you, so get involved on that group. Otherwise, Ash is posting his preview articles on ROTL so go and check that out. Please don't forget to subscribe, rate us 5 stars, like the episode, give the comments down below on what you think about the sacking and the game itself, what the problems are, how you might fix them, anything in there, we'll get to replying to them. That'd be really good stuff. Otherwise, hang about if you're live, otherwise on the audio pods. Thank you very much for listening. The only way is up, boys. Let's go Lions One Pride.
Fuck the Packers.
Packers week.
Recording stopped.
All right, there's the show. There was a question that actually I wanted to put to you, and then I'm just going to pop off for 2 minutes. It was Grandizer saying... So it was a talk about the head coach and the quarterback. He was saying, would you rather have John Harbaugh as your head coach? I'm presuming he's saying Harbaugh is the best head coach in the NFL. Would take exception to that. I think he's probably one of the top 2, but I'm not sure he's the top 1. But would you rather have Harbaugh or your coach of choice as number 1 or Patrick Mahomes? And I'll leave you with that and I'll come back in a sec.
This is
Patrick
easy.
Mahomes.
Yeah.
Surely it's Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah. Of course.
Quarterbacks
last longer than head coaches. So you want the guy who's going to be with your franchise the longest.
So my question is, would you rather fight 100 duck-sized Mike Vrabels or 1 Mike Vrabel-sized duck?
I'd rather fight the 1. I feel like the 100
Yeah.
tiny Mike Vrabels would be very fucking coordinated in attacking me. So I'd rather just have a straight one-on-one.
I don't want to get surrounded.
Yeah.
They've got you from all angles then, aren't they?
Exactly. They'll just 10 of you in front, 10 at the back, 10 above you. He'd be very coordinated in how he attacked you. So I'm one-on-one with him.
These are the big questions that we need to ask.
Dense, yeah.
Oh, let's just ask the big questions there, Steve. Rangers or Celtics, Steve?
Who would win the NFL Coach Royal Rumble?
It'd be between Campbell and Vrabel. They'd be the last 2 standing.
Maybe Andy Reid?
No, he ain't got no stamina in him.
Just from a kind of giant, like a Big Daddy kind of belly flop kind of.
Well, like Rikishi.
Imagine his cholesterol. his cholesterol would finish him off. He'd run down to the ring and just collapse.
No, it'd be between Campbell and Vrabel. They'd be the last two. I'd love to see them have like a Hell in a Cell with one another.
I can see Belichick though, like having like a baseball bat with like barbed wire wrapped around it. Like
Oh no,
hidden under the ring.
Belichick would 100% be the guy who had interference run for him. We've got like 4 goons at ringside who just come in and start beating the hell out of everyone. That's who Bill is.
Belichick's Paul Bearer. He'll just walk next to Tom Brady carrying a little urn for him.
Yeah.
Cheeky weirdo. See, I feel like Sean McDermott, he's kind of tough. I feel like he'd be great. He could have a go.
Oh, we've been asked, at what point would you take Bijan, Ryan? Where would you take him? I mean, is there temptation to go with the Rams pick after him because he is potentially that special, but he's a running back.
If we took Will Anderson at number 1 overall, I would take Bijan Robinson with the Rams pick. As much as that would upset the fan base, that would be. I think Drew Staley, right, Stiffy?
Bijan is that good. He is worth a first-round pick. If like I say, if you get the first one right, you get Will. I mean, talk about hardening up your trenches. I mean, you'll have one of the toughest running backs in the NFL, and one of the best edge rushers in years. He is worth that pick.
While you've been gone, Matt, we've been asking all the big questions.
Yeah, like.
Would you rather fight a 100 Mike Vrabel-sized ducks or one? No, I've got it wrong.
One duck-sized Mike Vrabel.
I don't want to fight that.
Please tell me we didn't actually ask that question.
We all had the same answer.
This is what happens when you go to the toilet.
I've got one for you. Who's the bigger disappointment in the Premier League? The Liverpool team of the noughties or the Man United team of the tens?
Probably Man United team of the tens because of the money they spent. They threw hundreds of millions.
The Liverpool team in the noughties won the treble in 01 and the Champions League. They got to the final in 05 and 07 and won.
No, I'm talking Premier League, not Champions League. I'm talking Premier League.
We came runner-up twice in the noughties with a shit team. We overperformed massively in the noughties. We outplayed our talent level massively.
I mean, we won the Premiership in 2012.
I think Ant's premise has gone awry here somewhat.
I'm just trying to stir the feathers here, so. It's an honest question. They've both disappointed a lot, but like Steve said, they won a Premier League title. Your lot didn't, so.
Okay, Fan Man has a variation on the QB coach question. He says, as a way to reword this, would you rather have Mahomes and the worst coach in the league, or your choice of coach and the worst QB in the league in a single game 1-on-1?
Oh, Patrick Mahomes any day.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I think he doesn't even know what the play call is. He can bail on the play call if he had to and just make something happen.
I mean, if you're the best QB in the league and you've got the worst head coach, you're just going to ignore him anyhow and make your own plays, aren't you? So that's fine. There you go.
Grandizer had a comment about leaders on the team currently. He talked about Frank Ragnall for the O-line, and then he said for wide receiver, don't know, running back Reynolds, and it's like, no. So wide receiver, it was identified pre-game, actually on Sunday, that the guy who's leading the core, who people are taking notice of and trying to emulate, is bloody Amon-Ra St. Brown. Did you see that?
Not surprised. He's the hardest worker out of a lot of them. He's the guy who grits it out and is never happy with how good he's playing. It's a sign of a leader, the one who's always looking to evolve and never feels satisfied and, always looking for that extra step. It's no wonder Amon-Ra's a leader. That's what I mean. You're in a position where your leadership on your team is your rookies, and as great as that is, it's not the same as having, a Luke Keithley in your side or something like that. A proper leader who takes ownership when the chips are down, when the times are at the toughest, and your back's against a wall and you need that guy to rally behind. I see very few players on this team, if any, who really hold that sort of influence. I mean, who would you say? Defensive line, linebackers, safeties,
McNeil.
corners?
I think
Again,
McNeil is the only one that never comes out of the
yeah,
game, and it's worrying if he's the leader.
exactly. Again, it's a young guy, so you've got to wait, 4 or 5 years for Liam to become a fully fledged leader, 4 or 5 years for Amon-Ra to become a fully fledged leader. That's not going to do Dan Campbell any good in the long run, because he'll be fired long before that if this lack of leadership on the team continues. So they're in a really horrible place at the minute because they can't pay anyone to come here and be a leader, but they can't wait for the youngsters to become proper leaders. It's a really tough proposition, and unfortunately, you just have to keep grinding it out year by year through the draft, and hope Sewell takes it up soon. And I just don't see that.
The problem is, though, you need to have the coaches able to develop the talent quickly and get them on the field and get them performing. And that's my fear, is that this is why the draft capital is kind of like not pointless, but worth less if the player, like say if you look at the Seahawks and how they've got like Tariq Woolen on the field and he's instantly producing. When was the last time that we had a rookie that had that level of production so quickly?
I don't remember any production like that from a rookie ever.
And we've had much better draft picks than the Seahawks.
Yeah, very true.
Can't argue with that.
Oh, I like the question of which 3 players in the draft class turned the Lions around. Oh, that's intriguing, that is. Which 3 players in this draft? Will Anderson is one. He turns your franchise around instantly, especially with who you're pairing him with. Him, Hutch, and Aleem all commanding double teams on the line of scrimmage. That's 6 guys for 3 of yours. So if you're playing a 4 front, that's 1 man who's unguarded for. Cornerback blitzers, safety blitzers. You cannot block everybody. Overload, and go kill quarterbacks. Will Anderson changes your franchise. Oh God, who else in this draft would? This is a tough one. I feel like it's defense-orientated players who do it in this one.
Joey Porter?
No, I'm a bigger fan of Devin Witherspoon. But he's not a franchise changer. He's the best man coverage corner in college, and the Lions desperately need the best man coverage corner in college. I will be screaming from the rooftops for us to draft Witherspoon, but you don't change your franchise's fortunes. This is kind of limited to quarterbacks and edge rushers, and I don't know, maybe. It's maybe they're your franchise changers, aren't they? Really, edges and quarterbacks. They're the ones who make and break your franchises. So,
what about that? What about the tackle from Northwestern? That the big
Skoronsky.
Mm-hmm.
He's not a tackle.
Well,
he's a tackle at Northwestern.
Matt has a different opinion. This is a college from where Rashawn Slater came from, and everyone said the same about Slater. What they kick him inside, etc. No, you don't. No, and you have to move on from Decker to that be a possibility, and then you're going to kick Sewell across anyhow, so you kind of want a right tackle rather than a left. Anderson does.
Jared points out in the chat, by the way, that in your scenario of a 4-man front, that Pascal's no slouch as that 4th as well.
No, but that's my point. I'm not just saying that Pascal doesn't deserve a double team, but when you've got Aleem, Will, and Hutch all picking up double teams because they're that dangerous, I mean, Pascal's going to be one-on-one with what? Not even a tight end. There's got to probably be a blocking running back or something like that. I would trust Pascal to wipe the floor with a running back 9 times out of 10. So that's why he's a franchise changer, Will Anderson. He gives you so many options. You've got to double team him. You see how he plays in college. You can't not double team him. All the other teams have done this year is double team Aiden because of how dangerous he is. McNeil takes on double teams in the interior because he's the only guy in there worth a damn stopping when Kaminsky ain't around. So you can only block so many people. So you overload. Why is the franchise changer? God, I don't want to say the quarterbacks because I ain't sold on them. I'm just not. I'm just not sold on them being franchise changers yet. Everyone knows my feelings on quarterback in this draft. God, who?
What about the linebacker, Trenton Simpson?
No, not linebackers. I'm not really. When you got this many, and I don't think individual players can turn this franchise around as much as Will does. That's why you draft them so high. I mean, technically, if Levis achieves what he should do with his intangibles as a quarterback and his space skills as a quarterback, he does change your franchise if he pans out right. But like so many quarterbacks in this draft, it's a big if.
He could turn out to be Justin Herbert, like, easily.
He's got the best intangibles of everybody in this draft. Of any quarterback in this draft, he has the tools you want, but can he use them? Can they be utilized? And this season, he's just underperformed. You saw how they got absolutely tanked the other day. Oh God, by what's his face? They looked bad the other day.
Kentucky, they got beaten by was it not? Wasn't it Ohio State? No,
they don't play one another.
No,
Big Ten and SEC.
It was a big matchup for Kentucky against a top-ranked team.
Yeah. I'm just drawing a blank.
Was it not Tennessee or Georgia? No, Tennessee then.
Yeah, it was Tennessee. Sorry.
Yeah.
He got blanked by Tennessee.
He threw 3 interceptions.
And Hooker looked amazing. So, I would say Levis with his intangibles could change your franchise round, but it's a big if. Will Anderson.
Jared Ports just said, I would honestly load up on defense this year and wait for a quarterback until the next draft. Go after Jaden Daniels from LSU.
The only thing that would annoy Ryan more is if we went after Bo Nix this year.
So I will have it said, by the way, on the Draft Network that they had Bo Nix as undraftable grade or UDFA grade before this season, and they said with his production and how he's looked this year, it's night and day compared to where he has been, and they think he could be a surprise day 2 pick. That's where they're at now with him.
If you're looking for 2024, then I think Drake May you look no further than at the minute. Drake May is going to be a fantastic prospect next year. But no, I'm currently compiling my KJ tape review, and I'm going to make believers of you all by the time I'm done. So, as one guy this year, if he declares, he might not even declare yet, but if he does,
I'm there. I'm all in.
I'm on that train.
I'm all in. He looks basically physically like Cam Newton, but he has a better arm. He even does the same celebration. Yeah. He does the Super Cam celebration.
Yeah. Ollie Hodgkinson called him a poor man's Cam Newton, and I'm not going to forgive him for that because he's going to be much better than Cam Newton ever was. I fully and truly believe that with him.
I think he looks like just as dominant a rusher, and he looks like he has a better arm.
Great pressure in the pocket. His leadership skills are invaluable. Winning on the road in the SEC is difficult. Doesn't even matter if you're going to Mizzou, Auburn. I mean, they went to Auburn this weekend and absolutely rinsed them. He got 4 rushing touchdowns, threw the ball well. And Auburn's got a good defense. They might have offense, but still, it's hard to go and win on the road in the SEC, and he has. He's played at Ole Miss, Kentucky, LSU. Only ever thrown 1 interception on the road in his entire entire collegiate career. One interception on the road. Guy who looks after a ball so well. He's thrown 35 touchdowns away on the road. It's stupid. It's stupidly good. He rushes the ball really well. The one at the weekend, 3 defenders individually tried to tackle him and he ran it in for a touchdown.
Who was the Arkansas wide receiver last year?
Treylon Burks.
Yeah, so, I mean, you have a look at what Burks has done so far this year, and you think maybe the guy all along was the quarterback.
Yeah, you're seeing the same with Jaden Hazelwood this year at Arkansas. He's going to be a decent draft pick when he gets selected because of him. He really is. So, I don't know, I'm going to make my point anyhow. That's why you just don't look at Stroud and Young and say that's it for this class. It ain't that black and white. It really, really isn't. I mean, Baker Mayfield went first overall. Carson Wentz went first overall. Jared Goff went first overall. To just listen to the pundits and say, this is the guy they say is number one, don't do it. Go out and do your own research.
Yeah. Yeah. Big Aries just said it might be the accent, but did and then it's just cut off, so I'm going to come back to that in just a second. Jamie said Kentucky got beaten by Tennessee. No, yeah, they did. They got absolutely smashed. That fan man wants General Booty. You know it. So where are you at on Miles Murphy? Because everyone basically I talked to has basically got him firmly at edge 2 and saying basically, you know, there's he could go very, very high.
Well, I prefer him to Breesy. That's all I'll say. I'm not on board with that history record with injury. But you know, Miles Murphy's a very good player. That Clemson defense, even despite their down year last year, has been bloody good. It's been one of the best in the nation all the time. It very rarely struggles, and it's because of the guys up front. You know, they create so much pressure, turnovers, etc. I mean, what's he on this year? I think he's double figures for tackles for loss, and I think he's at like 6 or 7 sacks, and that's sharing the line with Breesy and others. His Clemson defense is a gold mine. Just like that Illinois defense is going to be a gold mine. Just like the Georgia defense is probably going to be a gold mine again. There's some real damn good defensive units out there.
Miles Murphy, 26 tackles, 15 solo, 9 tackles for a loss, 5.5 sacks, 2 passes defended, and a forced fumble. Big Aries wants you to pronounce Auburn. Oh, how did you say it?
Auburn, I said Auburn.
Yeah.
Auburn. It's a colour. Auburn's a colour.
Yeah.
It is. Auburn's
a town in northeast Scotland.
Auburn's a shade of brown. I've always called it. You don't call it Auburn, because then it'd be Ohburn. Auburn. Burned. Well,
yeah, that's why they say Auburn.
Hey, look, they take them. You know, I learnt with Maryland. But there are some ones that I will not stoop down to those pronunciations for. They're going to be the same forever.
At some point, you're going to say Notre Dame.
I say Notre Dame.
No, you don't. You just said it wrong.
I say Notre Dame.
Yeah, and it's not Notre Dame.
What is it?
It's Noter. Noter, basically, when you say it phonetically. They say Notre Dame.
Yeah, well, Notre Dame is a very historical cathedral over the channel from us. I don't care.
Yeah, but the thing is, you're not even saying it French, because if you would, you'd say Notre Dame. But you say Notre Dame, which is like a bastardization of the French and the English.
Well, you know, I can't help it that you can't speak. Well, no, I'm not going to get into.
Come on, man! Oh, what?
Look, I've learned route for you guys. That's enough. I don't say route anymore. I say route in all forms of the conversation. So you've got that. That's enough. You've ruined my lexicon enough. So that's it. Hey, I pronounce words very well for those college ones. I really do.
Good enough. Are there any other really tough pronunciations around college football, guys, that you can throw at Ant and we'll test him on more? I want the pain. Bring the pain.
Yeah, well, that's just cruel, don't you think? Our podcast leader's meant to be good to us. And... Hey, hang on. Yeah, sorry. Go on, Steve.
I was going to say, we've already had a major WhatsApp group squabble about pronunciation this week.
And I like to bring it up with Jeremy on Twitter occasionally. I'll occasionally correct him and then get a load of people piling on us. So I'm very good with my pronunciations with college football for the most part, especially the coach names and the player names. Some of them are difficult. I get them right.
Right. So for me, with the limited research I've done, I would say the top impactful players you can have. I'm on the Joey Porter train. I really think that he will be a fantastic corner in this league from day one. I can see him making the impact straight away. I haven't done enough research on Bijan. From what people say, he's going to be one of those guys, but I just don't know. Will Anderson, I don't know, because I think he'll be a fundamental player for your franchise going forward. Will he do it year one? I thought Hutch would. And he hasn't. So Hutch ruined one of the best left tackles in the league yesterday.
But Hutch doesn't have a Will Anderson to back him up right now.
That's exactly
Will Anderson's
it.
going to have a Hutch to back him up, and a McNeil, and a fit Pascal. He's going to come into a lot more favourable situation.
Yeah, I'm also going to go for Quentin Johnson as an ex-receiver. I think he could be.
You've been listening to the college football podcast, haven't you?
A little bit.
Yeah, I knew it. He's my second first round pick in the mock draft on the college cast. He is. He's a perfect X receiver. Get Quentin Johnston, Jameson Williams, and Amon-Ra St. Brown on the same team, and you have the best young wide receiver trio in the NFL on your roster for the next at least 3 or 4 years on rookie deals. So just go ahead and do it. He honestly is worth it. He really, really is.
Jamie Clark asks, Tyree Wilson or Gervin Dexter if both are there in the second round?
Tyree.
I don't think Tyree's getting to round 2. I think he's going.
Well, I'm just answering the question.
Yeah.
Given.
But I think it could go late teens. I really do.
As for the thing about not taking a quarterback in round 3 or whatever, I think that. I mean, that's just me. I know it's not usually the thing to do and everything, but I truly, truly believe in my heart of heart that KJ is a very good Sunday player. I do. You might need a year to develop him and just let him. I mean, the situation you'd have there is you'd have a vet come in and you'd replace him halfway through the season when he's learned the playbook, when he's settled in and that, etc. But honestly, all my views are done with research. I researched KJ. I hated him when he started in college. Absolutely hated him. But over time, watching him all the time, he's really, really won me over. And I know it's not the usual thing to do to go for a quarterback later, but I believe in my heart of hearts he's going to be a great player on a Sundays, and he's worth bucking the trend for. Every now and then a guy comes along. Dak came along. Russ came along. I'm not saying he's one of them right away. I'm just not going on record, but it's the same with everything. We had the conversation on the stream yesterday about Bryce Young and his height. Someone will always come along and buck popular trends. So don't be afraid to make that decision if it's out there in front of you. For me, KJ Jefferson is going to be a great quarterback on Sundays. And if he's there in the third, you need a bit of time to develop him, you do it. Because you can then put your big picks on defense this year, fix that defense, and then when he comes in this team, you're that much closer to getting somewhere. Because no matter how good a quarterback you get in this draft coming up, if that defense ain't right, it ain't going to matter. So there's some wonderful defensive talent at the top of the draft this year, and you should go out and get it. If you get quarterback later and still develop him, then big win for your franchise.
What a year it is for wide receivers as well, because even slightly lower down, you're looking at people like Rashee Rice, who's having a fantastic year at SMU. You've got Jalen Hyatt, who's just gone off like a madman for Tennessee. Going even further down, you've got Zachary Franklin, Jaden Reed from Michigan State. There are some really, really good players, even going down into rounds potentially 6 and 7 in this draft for wide receiver.
Maybe. I don't think the depth of class is there this year.
Really?
I don't think you're going to find an Amon-Ra St. Brown in round 4 this year. I certainly don't think you're going to see as many at the top. I don't think there's nowhere near the elite talent at receiver this year that you've had in the last 2. I'll say that. See you later. I'll see you tomorrow.
Cheers, Ryan.
Yeah, I truly don't think there's as much at the top. So that's why I think, especially when it comes to the X position, if you want to go out and get an X in the draft this year, I think you have to go higher, which is why I went in the first round to get the guy, because I don't think that there's as many impact players at the top this year. Maybe there are some good depth guys this year, but for me, that's all they're going to be is depth guys. Really, that's kind of the vibe I'm getting at the minute. I need to do more work on it, obviously, but certainly at the top, there's very. I mean, Jackson Smith and Jigba's been injured all season. I mean, he was meant to be the favourite at this point. You've got guys who are not performing. I mean, Keishon Butte has been booty for LSU, for want of a weird pun. He's been terrible. He's got one touchdown all season and just doesn't look interested. He was meant to be a round one pick, and I think his stock's falling very fast. So I think you have to act decisively to get. If you want an X this year, you've got to, which is why I gave the Rams pick to it in my mock draft. I truly think you have to do that. But
And the guy that's clearly kind of separated himself at the top has been Jordan Addison, apparently, so far. So I've heard.
Addison's good, but he's not what we need.
No.
Like I say, we need an X receiver to go with Williams' speed and Amon-Ra's slot ability. You need to have that variation in your wide receiver core. That's why I've honed in on this guy, because I think he's the best X in this draft by a mile. But yeah, you got to be careful with it. Obviously, goal defense, I ain't going to be upset, but especially with how Reynolds is doing, I really think we need another receiver going forward. I really do. And you kind of want to make use of the rookie fifth-year option on your deals. Obviously, we can keep Jameson for an extra year, you keep Johnson for an extra year without paying them. Helps a lot with the cap going forward.
Question from Jared Port as well. I think you'll laugh slightly at this one. Noah Sewell, linebacker, Oregon for the Lions, second first-round pick.
Not anymore. I would have, before this season, I would have done it in a heartbeat. He has been bad this year. Him and Justin Flo have really disappointed this season. I know Oregon's doing well. They've only lost to one against Georgia and whatnot, but that's more due to Bo Nix and that offense been lights out and just dropping touchdowns on teams every single week. I have not been impressed with him. I know I'm not a PFF really guy either. I know you are a little bit more than me, but you know his grades dropped by over 20 points this year.
Wow.
He was. I'll see you later, Steve.
Cheers, Steve.
See you later, guys. See ya.
Have a good one.
I think he was 73 and 74 his first 2 years. He's at about 53 this year. And now I'm not saying PFF is the be all and end all, but they've obviously noticed in his production as well. But I ain't seeing it right now. Not to the point. If I'm spending a first on a linebacker, I need to be dead sure about them. That's why I was all in on Micah Parsons. It's why I was all in on Devin Lloyd, worthy of their first round grades. Now Sewell has all the attributes you want, but he's having a down year by his standards. So I'm not comfortable giving it to him at the minute. Just me, though. A lot of people would, and it wouldn't really upset me at the end of the day, because I know the Sewells are dedicated and they are hardworking. You see what Penne's like. Obviously, you're going to get the same personality with him, but like I said, I think you've got to have the production to back it up, especially when you're up there. There's a lot of good DBs you could be picking with that pick. I mean, if Witherspoon rises much quicker, I don't think we can wait till 32 for him anymore. And I would be stretching for him with my first round pick. Like I say, I'll take the best man coverage corner in the draft. I believe he is it. I will take him at 16 or 17 if I have to, if it comes down to it, because we need a man coverage corner. We really, 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 really do. And that Illinois defense has given up 6 touchdowns in 8 games this year. Even better than Georgia. Georgia's given up more. There's a treasure trove to be had. If you look at that Illinois defense, it's lights out this year. And of course, he knows Kirby.
Indeed. You were talking about lack of X receivers. Who is your X receiver to? Because I think, despite injury, I'd be plumping for Cedric Tillman, maybe, because he had a hot start. And he's looked good, and he is that sort of X receiver type.
Downs would be for me.
From UNC.
Josh Downs is an ex-candidate. And he's done really well. I mean, he's got ridiculous catch rate. I think his catch percentage last year was just shy of 90% on every. Yeah. I mean, he's only 5'10", which is not really the frame you want for an X, but he kind of plays a lot stronger than that. So I don't know. Like I say, I just don't see much top tier talent at the moment. I mean,
No.
there's some good receivers this year in college, but I just don't. I mean, what did I predict in the first round last year? I predicted 7 last year, didn't I?
Yeah, and I
In
think
the
you're
first round,
predicting,
and we
was it
got
4?
6.
Oh, no, hang on. Are you
3.
3?
I think I'm predicting about 3 this year, and that all depends on how JSN does and Booty. To be fair, I'm not sure about any of them. So
Yeah,
it,
I think the draft dudes have 3 as well, so that
um,
would make sense.
and I would like to think I got it. It's like I say, people balked when I said 7 last year. They're like, that's way too high. But I mean, I'm kind of right, 6, and it was nearly 7 because Christian Watson went just outside of the first round, didn't he? He didn't go much long after. There are lots of there's a lot of guys out there potentially, but I don't know. Um, I like I say, I'd want the best X in this draft if we were going to go and get one.
Um, Talking about pass catchers, and Jared's brought up this point. I've actually asked you about it before, but I think we'll close with this because it's getting towards 10 o'clock here our time.
Yeah.
He said, "Get rid of Hawk and draft Michael Mayer from from Notre Dame."
No, not because I don't like him, but then we're just sort of resetting again at tight end. We're spending another first. You've got to spend a first round pick on him because he will be a first round pick. So I'm just not comfortable. It's just like we're starting again. We're gonna have a first round tight end again, and yeah, I'm not 100%. I honestly think we need a proper blocking tight end here. Um, where's Mitchell going to be? I don't know. I still stand by James Mitchell. I really do.
Oh,
Is
I
he going
think
to ever
Mitchell
be
will be really good.
is he ever going to be a tight end 1? Probably not.
Ooh,
But
I don't know. He could be a Dawson Knox. Why can't he be a Dawson Knox?
I don't know. Like I say, I honestly, I back him. I think he's going to be good, but I don't think he's going to be. I don't think he's going to be that good. That's my only thing with that. But I would want to. I mean, if you're going to go tight end, I mean, I don't know whether Cade is eligible this year. He's basically a receiving tight end, but yeah, there's still a lot of work I've got to do on this class at the minute. But I'm very defense orientated at the top, outside of Quentin Johnston. Um, and yeah, and I'll still go with KJ, but
Right, I think it's time to call it there. Yeah?
Yeah.
Right, we'll save the rest for the college podcast, which will be coming tomorrow. I know that's a heck of amount of prep for you, Ant, especially for that show. So please do go and support the guys for that tomorrow. It's always a really good one to get your depth for the draft. It's coming up soon for the Lions, thick and fast with the way that the results are coming right now. I actually was picking the Rams games for the rest of the season. I had them at 6 wins, which I know was a lot lower than a lot of people. Some people had 10 or 11 wins for them, which I just think is insane considering how they're playing right now, even against mediocre opposition. But, hey, the Lions could be having 2 picks in the top 10, guys. It could happen. Regardless, the College Football Podcast is the place to go to find out what's coming out of college this season. But thanks for sticking with us, especially in the post-show show, and we'll see you tomorrow and Thursday for the next ones. But see you soon. Cheers.
Au revoir. Yeah. 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 Fair enough. Okie dokes, that's fine. Noted. Okay. Okay. No worries. I've got got no more hate mail then. No, I know. Oh, don't. I'd rather know about it. Why does that sound familiar? Have they just... I think they might have just started following us recently on... Well, there's no harm in listening. There never is. Most we can do is listen and then take it on from there. But I mean, you know, yeah. Mm, no, we've got enough stuff to do with this at the minute, so it's. I still feel like we're growing ours to the point where I don't want to commit to doing anything else just yet. I still feel like there's a lot of work that needs to be done with this. Especially we need to, we're at the point now where we're gonna have to start upping the game. I mean, how did the jingle stuff go? Did you ever reply to those people about the stuff? It does. That's it. The whole thing needs an upgrade because that's the sort of show we are now. We need to upgrade it. I'm good. I want to do a YouTube intro. I mean, I'm not fussed about the music for the audio pods. I kind of want to do a visual intro. But I've yeah.